Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Becomes the Monarch of Shadows Part 2. Chapter 8. Simple Conversation. Third person POV. The Student Council. The Student Council is high up within schools. It is a group of students elected by their peers to address issues of concern and organize student events and activities. Each school throughout the world has a student council or something similar to one. Kuo Academy isn't so different. Besides the principal and a few of the staff, the student council in Kuo Academy is the second most powerful in the entire school. They can decide the punishment of a student who is doing the wrong thing. They can also decide if a teacher gets fired or not. While the student council can be scary at times, they are generally there to help the other students whenever they can. Sitting at a desk working on stacks of paperwork was the student council president, the leader of the student council. The president was a bespectacled young woman with a slim figure, black hair styled in a short bob cut, and violet eyes. She wore a standard Kuo Academy female uniform. The only thing different was that she wore a pair of glasses. She wore a standard Kuo Academy female uniform. The only thing different was that she wore a pair of glasses. This girl was Sona Shitori, the student council president. Sona is by far one of the smartest in Kuo, if not the smartest in the entire school. Her knowledge of things is both jaw-dropping and horrifying. She always seems to have an answer for any question she is asked. This has resulted in much respect and hatred. Some people respect the black-haired girl for her knowledge of things, while other lesser people hate her, because to them they believe that Sona thinks she is above them. But Sona is not cocky or arrogant. She is quiet, calm, intelligent, and helpful when she needs to be. Although she isn't drilled upon like her other female peers because her body isn't as developed as theirs. However, this does not bother Sona in the slightest because she knows that there will be someone that she will fall in love with. It may not be today, tomorrow, or next week. But she knows that she will meet someone special one day. All she can do is wait until then. As Sona was finishing up with some of the paperwork in front of her, she heard the sound of footsteps approaching her. Turning her head to the right, she was greeted by the vice president of the student council and her close friend, Tsubaki Shinra. Tsubaki was a young bespectacled woman with long straight black hair that extends all the way down to her knees, with light brown eyes. Just like Sona, Tsubaki wore a standard Kuo female uniform and had blue semi-rimmed glasses with square lenses. Sona. Ah, Tsubaki. You're back, I see that you have done all your task. Tsubaki nodded her head. Tsubaki. Indeed I have. I also took the liberty of checking in on the others and see how they are doing. Sona. Oh. And how are they doing? Tsubaki. They should be done with all their task in the next half hour. But maybe close to 2 hours because of Saji. Hearing that caused Sona to let out a small sigh as she shook her head. Saji was the newest member of the student council. From what Sona has seen, he is a pretty average student in all of his classes. He didn't have any hidden talents. Saji also follows commands quickly, not as quickly as Sona would want, but it's a start. Although Sona has been told by one of her peers that Saji has been bragging about being in the student council, stating that he is now above them and that they should respect him and whatnot. She will have to deal with that later. For now, she just wants to finish her paperwork and call it a day before the next class starts. Sona. I see, thank you Tsubaki for the report. Tsubaki bowed to the black-haired girl. Tsubaki, you're welcome Sona. But have you heard the rumor? This gained Sona's attention. Since they were in high school, there were gonna be some kind of rumors going around. But hearing Tsubaki says something about a rumor was a completely different story. She had never heard her friend ask such a question before. Sona. What rumor? Tsubaki. They say that Isseihyoudou, the leader of the perverted trio, has returned. As soon as Tsubaki had finished that sentence, Sona's eyes widened in shock. She quickly stood up from her chair, knocking it over, which surprised Tsubaki. Sona. Where is he? Tsubaki stared at the black-haired girl with a surprised expression. She didn't expect this from Sona. Normally she is calm and collected, but right now Tsubaki can hear worry and happiness within her voice. Tsubaki. Sona grabbed Tsubaki by the collar and stared into the black-haired girl's light brown eyes. This spooked Tsubaki because she could have sworn she saw Sona's pupils get smaller. Sona. Tell. Me. Tsubaki got a little scared. She had never seen Sona like this before. It was very worrying. What was her relationship with Issei anyway? The last time she heard he was nothing more than a pervert who enjoyed peeping on teenage girls in the changing room. Also Sona dislikes perverts just like all the other girls in the school. Tsubaki. I don't know. I just heard that he had returned from the hospital. Sona. The hospital, why did he have to go there? I have to find him. The black-haired girl quickly let go of her best friend and like the author's love life, she ran out the door. Tsubaki blinked as she stared at the door, seeing that Sona somehow took the damn thing off the hinges. Tsubaki. What the fuck just happened? Sona ran down the hallway, knocking down any unfortunate students that were in her way. She had to find him. She had to find Issei and see if he was alright. She had noticed that he hadn't been at school for a couple of days, but she was never told what happened. She also did not hear anything on the news, so she suspected that the brown-haired boy was alright. But turns out she was wrong because she just now found out that he was in the hospital. Even though he was a pervert, Sona didn't have any negativity toward Issei. Sona. Issei, what happened to you? Meanwhile with Issei. Issei. Ayakuo. Issei was currently sitting on a bench, he was about to eat his lunch that he made for himself. Since his mother had to leave for work early, the brown-haired boy had to make his own food. It wasn't too difficult because he was basically a young adult, he could do something like make a simple lunch easily. Issei sniffled as he wiped his nose. Issei. Was someone talking about me? Or is my allergies acting up again? Silence was all that the brown-haired boy received as an answer, he didn't even get one from the system. He shrugged his shoulders as he decided not to think about it much, after all, he was hungry. Issei. Well, no point in worrying about it. Time to eat. Yo Issei. Grumbling a little bit because he was prevented from eating his lunch, Issei turned his head in the direction of the voice and saw his two friends walking over to him. He had a feeling he knew why they were here, he guessed that they were gonna ask him to come peep on the kendo girls again. Issei. Hey guys, what do you want? Mitsuda. What are you doing? Issei. I was going to eat my lunch, which I would like to do. But I have the feeling that you two want something from me. Motohama. PFT. No. What makes you think that? Issei deadpanned at the two boys, did they seriously think that he will fall for that? If he was his old self then he would have definitely fallen for Motohama's words, but thanks to the system the brown-haired boy was way different than his old self. He's not gonna fall for something like that. Issei. Yeah, what do you want? Make it quick. Mitsuda. Well, since you're back. Both Mitsuda and Motohama grew perverted grins, yep Issei called it. Both. Wanna go peep on the kendo girls? Issei stared at his two friends, he was about to speak, but he soon heard a noise which gained his attention. His eyes wandered over to it as he saw that it was from the system. Urgent quest. Better reputation. You must not result to your old ways, second chance to make amends for what you did. Caution failure will result in penalty. Issei became nervous almost immediately, he couldn't help but feel like the system knew that Mitsuda and Motohama were gonna ask him that question. He feels like it made this urgent question just for this very moment, but Issei understood why it was doing it. It was true, the system gave the brown-haired boy a second chance at life. He couldn't just let it go to waste and go back to his old ways, maybe he could finally get an actual girlfriend. So Issei had to handle this situation calmly, otherwise, he was gonna be dead meat. Issei. Sorry guys. But I can't. Mitsuda and Motohama grew shocked expressions, worrying Issei because Motohama's face looked like it became something from a comic book or an anime. Issei. How the hell is his jaw not broken from doing? Mitsuda. Why not? Motohama. Yeah. Boobs are life. The brown-haired boy sweat dropped, he already knew that his two friends were never gonna get any girlfriends in the future. Issei. Guys, I just got back from the hospital. I just don't feel like doing it. Mitsuda crossed his arms. Mitsuda. I guess that makes sense, you're probably still recovering from whatever happened to you. Issei nodded his head. Issei. Yeah, plus my doctor told me to take things easy and not do anything that could cause me stress. He smiled at his two friends, what he said was a total lie. His doctor never told him any of that, he just said that to make his friends believe him. Despite Mitsuda appearing to seem intelligent, he was actually really stupid. When Issei was his old self, the three of them were so dumb that every other student guessed that the trio shared the same brain cell. The reason for that was because the trio never learned their lesson from the beating they get from the kendo girls, they always came back for more. But this time things are gonna be different, Issei won't be doing any of his old antics. He is gonna be better, he's gonna become something else. Motohama let out a small sigh. Motohama. Well, I guess we'll leave you alone then. Issei. Thanks guys, I wish you luck. Make sure you don't get caught. Mitsuda. PFT. We won't get caught, we're too smart. Issei sweat dropped as he chuckled a little. Issei. Press X to doubt. He shook his head as he watched his two friends walk off. Issei then looked over to his side to see the system appear. You have completed urgent quest. Better reputation. A smile grew on Issei's face, he was glad that he didn't have to go back to the penalty zone anytime soon. The next time he goes there he will have to be stronger, a lot stronger than he is now. Even with his new weapons and increased stats, he knows that if he gets cocky then he will end up dead. Choose reward from the list below. Reward 1. Random loot box +1. Reward 2. Ability points +3. Reward 3. Book on how to pick up girls. Issei's right eye twitched slightly at the last reward, he couldn't help but feel like the system was making fun of him on that last part. However, he let out a small sigh. Issei. I choose the random loot box. At that moment a box appeared in the brown-haired boy's hands before disappearing, he was about to see what he got from it, but he soon sensed something. This sent Issei on guard as he quickly turned and saw someone approaching him, but when he saw who the person was he couldn't help but feel annoyed. Issei. Great, it's the pretty boy. The person was a handsome young man with short blonde hair, blue eyes, and a mole underneath his left eye. He wore a standard Kuo Academy boys' school uniform, which consisted of a black blazer with white accents over a white long-sleeved dress shirt with a black ribbon on the collar, matching black pants, and brown dress shoes. This person was Yudo Kiba, also known as the Prince of Kuo Academy. All the girls love the blonde-haired boy because of his charming looks and gentleman-like personality, but all the boys hate him because he makes all the girls fall for him. Issei crossed his arms. He was annoyed at Kiba for two reasons. The first was that he was interrupted before he got the chance to eat his lunch again. The second reason was that he didn't want to deal with the pretty boy right now, he wasn't in the mood. But he had the feeling that he wasn't gonna just walk away from the situation, plus Kiba was giving off the same vibe as Kaneko and Rias did. The school pretty boy wasn't human. Well, that's a shocking and a half. Kiba approached Issei with a smile on his face. Kiba. Greetings, Issei. Issei. What do you want with me, pretty boy? Kiba. I came here at the request of Rias Gremory. This surprised Issei a little. Rias sent him. What could she want with Issei? But more importantly, why send Kiba or all people to fetch him? Kiba is loved by every girl in the entire school. Seeing the two with each other no homo will just cause a ruckus of some kind. Plus Issei just arrived at school. He is pretty sure he has missed a few days worth of homework. But if he didn't go, he wondered what Rias would do. He let out a small sigh. He guesses he better get it over with. Issei. Alright, let's go, pretty boy. Kiba. Oh, of course. Please follow me. The brown-haired boy stood up after packing his stuff away. He then proceeded to follow the blonde in a random direction. As they were walking, they made their way past a few people who began to gossip about them, well, more like the girls complained. Female 1. Nuo. Kiba why? Female 2. He's been corrupted. Female 3. Damn you Hidu. Female 4. You got the prince dirty. Issei shook his head. He knew something like that would happen. He's just gonna ignore it. For now, he wanted to see what Rias wanted with him first. He had a feeling it wasn't anything bad. If she wanted him dead, then she would have already killed him by now. Then again, they were in school, so that could cause some ruckus. However, Issei was pretty sure that she could have easily manipulated people's memory or whatever. Since she wasn't human and Yuuma wasn't human, it was obvious that they held some sort of supernatural abilities. Issei himself wasn't even sure if he was even human anymore. He feels like he is, but he could be completely wrong. Plus he has the system, something that only he could see and no one else. Yeah, definitely human. As Issei followed Kiba, they ended up heading toward the back of the school. Surrounded by trees was the old school building. It was used a long time ago when Kuo was simply an all-girls school. But it was soon abandoned when the school turned co-ed and a new one had to be built. No one came to the old school anymore. Issei remembered that his old self used to get goosebumps whenever he saw the place, but right now he doesn't have that. Issei has heard rumors that the old school building had been listed as one of the 7 mysteries of Kuo. He wasn't sure what the other 6 were though. The building looked very old-fashioned, all made of wood. However, Issei didn't see any broken windows. The place seemed to be in good condition despite being old. Kiba. Butchu is here. This gained Issei's attention. He knew the Kia was taking him to Rias. But he didn't expect her to be in the old school building. Also, if Kiba is calling her Butchu, then that means she is the president of a club. The brown-haired boy never really took clubs seriously. When he was his old self, he and his 2 friends basically ignored all the clubs that the school had. The Kendo Club, Art Club, Drama Club, History Club, Newspaper Club, the Cult Research Club. Issei didn't care about all those clubs. He was too busy focusing on breast and other perverted things. But not anymore. Both Issei and Kiba entered the 2-story building and climbed up to the 2nd floor. They continued walking, passing through corridors that seemed well taken care of. As they were walking, Issei realized that everywhere they passed, there wasn't the slightest sign of dust. He expected cobwebs, dust, insects, and maybe some other stuff in the place. But he doesn't see any of it. Was the building even abandoned? Eventually, the 2 reached their destination. They stopped in front of a particular classroom. Issei read the plaque next to the door, Occult Research Club. This got his attention. Looks like Rias was the president of the most mysterious club in the entire school. The brown-haired boy wasn't sure if he should be surprised or nervous. Issei. Looks like this is it. He looked at Kiba. Issei. So, this is where Rias is? Kiba nodded his head. Kiba. Yes, Butchu is inside. Issei. Well, let's get in there. Kiba opened the door and the 2 entered the room. Kiba closed the door behind them as Issei began to analyze his surroundings. There were strange words and symbols drawn from every corner. The floor, the walls, and the ceiling were covered in strange signs. but one, in particular, stood out from the rest. It was a large circle drawn in the middle of the room. Issei remained on guard, but not enough that it was noticeable by Kiba or by the others who were in the room. Speaking of others, Issei noticed that Kaneko was sitting on a sofa. She seemed to be once again eating a couple of sweets such as chocolate bars and lollipops. Kiba. Kaneko, this is Issei. The white-haired girl slowly looked up at the two, her hazel eyes staring into the brown-haired boy's brown ones. She soon nodded and went back to eating. This caused Issei to sweat drop a little. However, he didn't really expect much because he has heard that Kaneko preferred to keep to herself rather than talk with others. Issei. Nice to meet you. Kaneko nodded as she continued to eat her candy. Issei's ears soon picked up the sound of water dripping from the back of the hall. It sounded like a shower. The brown-haired boy turned his gaze to the source of the noise, seeing the body outline of a woman behind shower curtains. If Issei was his old self, he would have the biggest perverted grin on his face right now. But he has more important things to worry about. He needed to remain on guard. He can't get distracted. However, Issei did hear the sound of the running water being interrupted by someone. But you, here. This gained his attention. Was there someone else with Rias? He could tell that it was Rias because of the strand of hair that was hanging forward. Issei remembered the crimson-haired girl who had that when he and her made eye contact with each other. Rias. Thank you, Akeno. Akeno? Issei wasn't sure if he had ever heard of someone by that name before. Then again, he doesn't know much or anything about the third years. The curtains soon opened, revealing Rias wearing her school uniform. Issei noticed that her hair was wet as she walked out, smiling at the brown-haired boy. Rias, hello Issei. It is nice to meet you. Issei nodded in agreement, wanting to be seen as friendly. The last thing he needed was to make any enemies, especially enemies with beings he has no idea about. He soon noticed that there was someone behind Rias. The person was a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure, very long black hair, and violet eyes. Her hair was tied in a long ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs, with two strands sticking out from the top and sloping backward, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place. Her hair was tied in a long ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs, with two strands sticking out from the top and sloping backward, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place. Issei had a feeling that this person was the one called Akeno. There was no one else in the room besides himself, Kiba, Rias, Kaneko, and that girl. Akeno. Ara. A pleasure to meet you, cutie. My name's Akeno Himejina. She smiled at Issei in a polite way. Her smile was something that Issei didn't trust. His instincts were screaming at him to be careful of her. This set the brown-haired boy on high alert. He better keep a close eye on her and keep his distance. Although, she emitted an aura similar to that of Yuma. Issei didn't know why because the aura felt off. While it did feel similar to that of Yuma, it also felt like Rias, Kiba, and Kaneko's. Felt like she was two different things entirely. Maybe that is what she is. Rias. It seems that everyone is already present. Now then, Issei, would you like to take a seat? Issei didn't see why not. He doubted it was a trap because if it was then Kaneko wouldn't be sitting down. The brown-haired boy sat down on the same couch as Kaneko, but he saw that she insisted on keeping a distance from him. Issei just let it go and kept focusing on what was in front of him. Akeno. Would you like some tea? Turning his gaze to Akeno, he saw that she had a cup of tea in her hand. The system wasn't going off to the tea and didn't appear to be poisoned or tampered with. Issei. I appreciate it. He took the cup from her, making the black-haired girl smile. He then took a sip. Issei. It's very good. Akeno. Ara. I appreciate your compliment, fu. Issei sweat dropped. What the hell was wrong with this woman? He turned his attention to Rias who sat on the other couch, right in the middle. Akeno was seated next to the crimson-haired girl with Kiba standing next to her. Rias. I'm gonna cut right to the chase. How did you survive the attack from the fallen angels? Issei. Wow, that was very direct. Rias. By the expression on your face, you don't seem to know yourself. Do you? Issei nodded his head. Issei. Yeah, I don't know how I survived. I don't even know what fallen angels truly are, but… The brown-haired boy stared at the crimson-haired girl with a serious expression, his brown eyes seemingly glowing a completely different color. Issei. You know because you aren't human, are you? Rias was surprised by this. She wondered if it had anything to do with Issei's sacred gear. If he had one in fact. She nodded her head. Rias. Yes, you are correct, Issei. We are not humans. The brown-haired boy watched as bat-like wings sprouted from their backs. Rias. We're devils. Fallen angels, devils. That could only mean that there were angels, gods, and other types of supernatural beings. Issei had a feeling about it, but he wasn't truly sure. It was always nice to find out from another source, rather than go off by your own theory. Rias. We devils have been at war against the fallen angels since ancient times. We fight for possession of the world of the dead, also known as hell by humans. The world of the dead is divided into two areas, the devils and the fallen angels. Devils form pacts with humans, receiving their sacrifice which increases our strength. The fallen angels, on the other hand, control humans to eliminate devils. In addition, they have the angels, who come here by divine order to try to eliminate the two races. With that, we have all three factions. This has been going on since antiquity. Issei. I see, so I guess Yuma was a fallen. Rias. Yes, that woman who pierced you with that light spear was a fallen angel. I waited until she left to revive you, but when I arrived there I saw the ambulance driving off with your body which was in critical condition. This only filled Issei with more questions. If Rias knew that Yuma was gonna attack him, then why didn't she stop her? Why didn't she save him from Yuma earlier? Did she want to look like a savior of some kind when she revived him? Make the brown-haired boy grateful for her saving him. Issei. No, there had to be a reason. If he was gonna get the answer he desired, he might as well as her now. Issei. May I ask you something? Rias. Of course. Issei. Why didn't you save me before she pierced me? A small sigh escaped from the crimson-haired girl's mouth. She had a feeling that he would ask a question like that. Rias. Because if I did, then what would you have done? Issei. I would have panicked. Rias. Exactly, you would have panicked and ran off to tell someone what happened. No one would have believed you and things would have gotten worse for you. If I could I would have saved you. But I had no choice but to let you die. Issei stared at the crimson-haired girl. Silence had filled the room, drowning out any source of the sound. The brown-haired boy soon closed his eyes and let out a small sigh. Issei. It's quite alright, Rias. I do not blame you. This surprised Rias. Rias. Really? He simply nodded. Issei. Why would I hate you? You have done nothing wrong. But why did she kill me? Rias was still surprised that Issei did not hate her for leaving him to die. She fully expected the brown-haired boy to be furious with her. She actually expected him to maybe get a little physical, but he has done none of that. This was very strange. He isn't acting as she has heard. He hasn't bothered staring at her voluptuous body. His eyes appeared to be full of seriousness. It was like he was a completely different person. Rias quickly composed herself when Issei asked her the question. Rias. The reason she approached you was to make sure there was something dangerous inside of you. She must have noticed a faint signal coming from that. That's why she spent all that time with you. So she was able to confirm that you were a human possessor of a sacred gear. It was that word again. Sacred gear. Issei. What is a sacred gear? Tiba. A sacred gears is basically items with powerful abilities bestowed upon humans by God. Issei. By God, I see. So are there any differences in sacred gears? Rias. Most sacred gears can appear different from each other. For example, one sacred gear could appear in the form of a gauntlet, while another could take the form of a sword. Issei. I see, so they are totally different from each other, and I guess whatever form they take is what they remain as. Rias nodded her head. Knock 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 knock. Everyone's attention turned toward the door. Issei raised an eyebrow because he was pretty sure that Rias said that everyone was already in the room. Issei. Rias. Didn't you say that everyone was already in the room? The crimson-haired girl nodded her head. Rias. I did, I don't know who that could be. Tiba. Shall I open the door, but you? Rias looked at the blonde-haired boy. Rias, yes, but don't do anything. We don't know if it's a teacher or a student that came for something. Tiba nodded as he walked toward the door. Everyone watched as he opened the door. At that moment, some sort of blur came charging into the room with immense speed. It soon struck Issei in the chest. Sona. Issei. The impact knocked the brown-haired boy off the couch and onto the ground. Issei. Oof. Rias blinked in surprise. Rias. Sona, what the hell? Chapter 9. Spider and Blood. Third person Pav. Rias. Sona, what the hell? The crimson-haired devil girl stared at her best friend with an expression of shock and confusion. She was in the middle of explaining the supernatural to Issei. They had just finished talking about the reason the girl named Yuma, who was a fallen angel in disguise, killed him. It was because he had a sacred gear within him. However, they didn't get to talk about anything else because Sona just burst through the door and tackled Issei off the couch. The black-haired girl was holding onto Issei tightly, crying her eyes out into his chest. Issei. Sona. Sona. Issei. Don't you dare make me worried ever again. Issei. Sona looked up at the brown-haired boy, allowing Issei to see tears rolling down her face, as she had an angry yet upset expression on her face. Sona. I thought you were taking a few days off. I had no idea you were in the hospital. Do you have any idea how worried I was when Tsubaki just told me? Issei didn't say anything as he stared at the black-haired girl. Surprise was obviously slapped across his face. He had known Sona for a while. He basically saw her every single day when Issei was his old perverted self. Each time he saw her, she would scold him for doing perverted things. He understood that, but he had no idea that she actually cared for him. He thought she hated him with a passion. He thought that her kindness was all a show because she was the student council president. Was he wrong about Sona this entire time? Did she actually care about him? Issei. Sona, I thought you didn't care about me. Sona. You idiot. Of course, I care about you. You are the only friend I have. Rias. Hey. Rias crossed her arms. What the hell did Sona mean that Issei was her only friend? The crimson-haired devil girl has known Sona since they were babies, the two basically grew up together. So what the hell? Why the fuck was she saying that Issei was her only friend? Actually, Rias has never seen Sona like this before. She is normally rather calm and collected with things around her, even with Rias herself. However, she was now acting completely differently. Did she really care about the brown-haired boy that much? Sona. You're the only one who sees me as just a regular person, everyone else sees me as some sort of tyrant with all this power but you don't. Issei stared at Sona with an expression of shock. She continued to cry for a whole minute before Issei decided to do something about it. He couldn't just leave her the way she was, it was tearing Issei up inside and breaking his heart. So he brought the black-haired girl close to him and began hugging her. Sona was surprised by this sudden event, but instead of fighting it, she actually began hugging back. Rias and the others watched as the black-haired girl snuggled into Issei's chest, feeling his warm embrace wash over her. As they watched, Rias, Akeno, and Kaneko couldn't help but feel jealous of Sona. Kaneko and Rias weren't sure why they felt jealous, they had just met Issei, and he was known as the worst out of the perverted trio. Akeno, on the other hand, was jealous because she's Akeno. There's no need for an explanation. Issei. Sona, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you upset. Sona. But you did. Issei. I know. I didn't mean to, I got the attention of some very bad people. Sona looked up at the brown-haired boy, she had finally stopped crying, but her face was stained from the number of tears she let out. Sona. Who did you get the attention of? Issei didn't know how to reply, he wasn't sure if he should tell Sona all about what Rias had told him. He didn't want the black-haired girl to freak out and think he was crazy, he wasn't after all. Rias saw the discomfort on Issei's face and decided to help the brown-haired boy out. Rias. Sona, he gained the attention of the fallen angels. Issei's eyes widened as he looked at the crimson-haired devil girl, surprise slapped across his face. Issei. Rias, what the hell? Why did yo? Sona. Why were the fallen after him? Issei blinked when he heard that, he looked at Sona with a surprised expression. She wasn't shocked. This was something that Issei did not expect to happen, did this mean that she knew about the supernatural? Wait, was Sona even human? Now that Issei thinks about it, he was getting the same feeling as Rias and the others. It was a powerful aura, one that rivaled a certain purple snake the brown-haired boy faced. This set Issei on guard, he remembered how strong that snake was, he barely defeated it after all. And if Rias and Sona's auras are greater than Kasaka, that means that their power is way above that of a rank C monster. This was bad for Issei. If he makes one wrong move or does something to piss either of the two off, he gets the feeling that he will not like what happens. So he decided to just play it cool, when he leaves he needs to head to a certain location anyway. He needs to gain more experience and grow stronger. Issei. Sona. Issei. You're not human, are you? You're like them, a devil. Sona fell silent from the brown-haired boy's words as her gaze looked over at Rias, her eyes basically demanding to know if the crimson-haired girl told Issei about the supernatural. Sona. You didn't. Rias began to sweat a little from her best friend's gaze, she rubbed the back of her head and nodded. Sona. You told him. The sudden shout caused everyone in the room to flinch a little, but Issei only blinked in surprise. Why was Sona so angry with Rias? Rias. Yeah, I told him. Sona. Why? Rias. He deserved to know the truth about why he died that night. Issei. Wait, you said I was on the blink of death before Sona came rushing into the room. Rias blinked as she just remembered that the brown-haired boy didn't really die, he was just hospitalized for a few days. Rias. Oh, right. Sorry. Issei waved it off, it was a simple mistake. Everyone makes mistakes from time to time, no reason to get upset about something that everyone does. Sona deadpanned at her best friend. Sona. You're an idiot sometimes, you know that, Rias. The crimson-haired devil girl pouted cutely at Sona, how dare she call her an idiot. She was not an idiot, she was a proud member of the Gremory household. Issei couldn't help but chuckle slightly, making everyone look at him. Rias. What's so funny? Issei. Oh nothing, it's just that you look cute when you pout. After saying that, Ria's face began to heat up as a blush appeared on her. Her heart felt like it skipped a beat from the brown-haired boy's words. Rias. What? Me cute. Rias has been called many things in her life, the male students of Kuo have called her a goddess, a princess, and some other things. But never in her life has anyone called her cute, well anyone that wasn't her parents. Sona and the other girls glared at Rias, a jealous aura covering their bodies. Why did Rias get to be called cute and not them? Kaneko was the small cute one, and she wasn't being called cute. Rias sensed the jealousy coming from the other females and quickly cleared her throat, her blush fading from her face. Rias, thank you Issei. But I think we should get back on track. Issei. Alright, but. He looked at Sona who was still on him. Issei. Can you get off me, Sona? Sona quickly got off Issei, a crimson blush covering her face as she cleared her throat. Sona. My apologies, Issei. I guess I got a little out of hand. The brown-haired boy chuckled as he brought himself up to his feet, dusting himself off. Issei. It's fine, Sona. I can't blame you for acting like that, I did make you worry after all. Sona crossed her arms. Sona. Yeah, do not ever do that again. Issei chuckled as he scratched the back of his head. Issei. No promises there I'm afraid, but I will try my best. Sona couldn't help but sigh, she gets the feeling that Issei will be getting into a lot of trouble in the future, she just knows it. She just hopes that he doesn't piss off someone like the Devil Kings, the Angel faction, or even the Dragon Gods. Sona. Alright then. Sona turned her attention to Rias. Sona. You may continue with the explanation Rias, were you gonna tell him about the Great War? This gained Issei's attention, Great War. He wondered what this Great War was all about. From the sounds of it, he guesses it must have been some sort of war in the supernatural world. Or, a state of armed conflict between different countries or different groups within a country. To start a war, one must do something to annoy another. It is a struggle between opposing forces or for a particular end, the war on poverty. When war is wagged, it could either be a country matter or a worldwide matter. Other countries try their best to stay out of whatever war it is because they don't want their people to die or get caught in the crossfire. The only reason another country would join in a war is if they need to defend their home or if they are forced to. When the brown-haired boy thinks of a war of any kind, he normally thinks of wars like World War I and World War II, those two were devastating wars back in the day. Issei. What's the Great War? Rias looked at Issei, she had a feeling he would ask that question. She was gonna tell him it at a later date, but it seems that she is gonna have to tell him right now. Well done, Sona. Well done. Rias. To tell you that, I have to explain the three factions. Issei. Okay, I'm listening. Rias. You see, the three factions started thousands of years ago. The biblical God cast out angels that opposed his teachings, creating the fallen angels who inhabited the underworld alongside the devils. Issei nodded. Rias. The three factions eventually warred against one another under the leadership of the biblical God, the four great Satans, and the fallen angel organization, Gogori, led by their leader, Azazel, in a conflict which came to be known as the Great War, which continued for an unknown period of time. Issei nodded his head in understanding as he began processing the information he had just been given. God, four great Satans, a war that continued for a long time. Issei never really believed in God or the devil when he was younger, then again he was only human back then. He also didn't have a strange video game system that appeared in front of his face from time to time, he felt like he was in some sort of gacha system. Issei. I see that is quite a story, Rias. I had no idea that your people had to go through such a thing. Rias. It's alright, Issei. It's in the past now, but now that I have told you basically everything you need to know. I have a question for you. This gained his attention as he wondered what she wanted to ask him. Sona, who was standing next to the brown-haired boy, silently looked at the crimson-haired devil girl. Sona. Rias, you're not planning on asking him. Are you? Rias. I am. Sona sighed and shook her head. Sona. Why am I not surprised? Issei looked at Sona with a raised eyebrow, confused about what was wrong. All Rias was doing was asking him a question, that was all she was doing. Issei. What? What was she gonna ask me? Rias. Issei. He looked at Rias. Issei. Yes. Rias. Would you like to join my peerage and become a devil? Issei was surprised by this, he didn't expect Rias to ask him such a question. Become a devil. Could Rias really make him one? If he becomes one, does that mean that he has to listen to her orders? He didn't like that idea, he wants to live freely. However, before he could reply to the crimson-haired girl's question, a screen appeared in front of him. Urgent quest. Don't change. You must not become a devil, you'll be limited and become weak. Caution, failure will result in penalty or death. Issei was shocked and became very nervous by this, he already died once, and that was very painful. Just like the other urgent quest, he also doesn't want to go back to the penalty zone, he's still gotta get stronger. Issei took a deep breath and began to relax, he couldn't be freaking out at a time like this. He had to handle a situation like this calmly, maybe Rias will understand and accept whatever his decision. The system really doesn't want him to do certain things. First, it prevented him from going back to his old perverted self and gaining a small amount of better reputation in Kuo, though everyone still thinks that the brown-haired boy was the usual pervert. Now the system is trying to prevent Issei from becoming a devil. It was almost like the system had a form sentience, or maybe someone was using the system and was watching Issei, either could be a possibility. Issei, sorry Rias. But I don't think I can accept that. This surprised Rias and everyone else in the room. They didn't expect Issei to straight up refuse the offer of becoming a devil. Rias. Oh. Why? Issei. Don't get me wrong, the idea of becoming a devil sounds cool and all. But I want to live my life as a human. Rias felt a little upset. She was hoping Issei would accept and join her peerage. But she understood that not everyone wants to change, they just want to be normal. Issei could see that Rias was slightly upset about his choice, feeling bad. He came up with an idea. He wasn't sure if this was gonna be a good one, but he might as well try. Issei. But I wouldn't mind helping you and everyone out if you allow me. Rias. Really? The brown-haired boy nodded his head. Rias smiled. Rias. Well then, I accept that offer. Issei smiled. Sona watched with a smile on her face. She was glad that Issei didn't become a devil. He doesn't deserve to become one just after he came back from the hospital. Issei looked out the window, seeing that the once bright blue sky was becoming a dark orange color, signaling that the day is becoming to an end. Issei decided that it was time to head off. He had something to do before he goes home anyway. Issei. Well, I think it's time for me to head off. Rias. Alright then, Issei. I hope to see you again soon. The brown-haired boy nodded his head. He then stood up from the couch and looked at Sona. Issei. I guess I'll see you tomorrow, Sona. Sona. Indeed, I hope to see you tomorrow and not in the hospital again. Issei chuckled. Issei. Once again, no promises. With that, Issei began to make his way out of the occult research club. He did wave goodbye to Rias and the others as he left the building, but as he was walking another screen appeared in front of him. You have completed urgent quest. Don't change. A small smile grew on Issei's face. He saw the reward and they were basically the same as the last urgent quest. So he took the 3 ability points. He will never take that book on how to pick up girls. Seriously, why the hell is the system trying to give him something like that? Is it trying to be a wingman or is it just trying to see him suffer? Issei soon remembered that he had a random loot box from the last urgent quest, but he never got the chance to open it. The brown-haired boy opened his inventory and opened the random loot box. It disappeared and in its place was a key. Item. Dungeon key. Item class. C. Type. Key. Issei's eyes widen. Issei. No way, it's a C rank item. The last dungeon key I got was only E rank. Was this the work of the system? Did it want him to go and do a C rank dungeon? Was he even strong enough to take on one? If he remembered correctly, he was only level 18. He wanted to be at least level 20 plus before he took on anything more difficult, but his stats were pretty decent. Maybe he did have a chance at beating the C rank dungeon. Issei. A C rank dungeon. As Issei was walking, the sky suddenly changed color. He froze as he looked up. The once orange sky was now a dark purple color and everything around the brown-haired boy was warped. Issei was confused. What the hell was going on? It couldn't be the penalty's own because he did his daily quest. No, this had to be the work of a supernatural being. But what? Issei. What the fuck is doing this? Suddenly, Issei sensed something and quickly turned toward a group of trees. He narrowed his eyes at the trees. Issei. Whoever you are, come out. The brown-haired boy heard a chuckle as multiple people came out. They all had impressive aura, but there was one that was stronger than the rest. Issei looked at the one he guessed was the leader of the group. It was a middle-aged looking man with short black hair and dark blue eyes. His attire consisted of a pale gray trench coat over a white dress shirt with a matching ascot, black pants and shoes, a pair of black gloves, and a black fedora. His attire consisted of a pale gray trench coat over a white dress shirt with a matching ascot, black pants and shoes, a pair of black gloves, and a black fedora. You managed to detect me and my soldiers. I must give you credit for that. Issei. Who the hell are you? What do you want from me? The man chuckled as he held his hand out and a blue spear of light appeared. The others did the same, and yellow ones appeared. Issei's eyes widened as he remembered those spears all too well. Those were light spears that belonged to fallen angels. Issei. Light spears, you're just like Yuma. The man smirked as a pair of black feathered wings sprouted from his back. The color of those wings, the darkness that could swallow everything, even light. It was a color that Issei shall never forget, a color that will be engraved within the brown-haired boy's mind. Donaseek. Since you are gonna die, I shall tell you my name. It's Donaseek. Issei narrowed his eyes. He was about to summon his dagger when all of a sudden, the key within his hand began sparking with blue electricity. Both Issei's and the fallen angel's eyes widened as the key flew out of the brown-haired boy's hand and landed on the ground. Before anyone could say or do anything, a portal appeared where the key landed and began pulling the group close to the portal. Issei. Shit. Issei turned and tried to run away, but the force of the portal was so strong. The fallen angels were also having a tough time getting away from the portal. They tried to fly away, but it didn't work. One of them even tried throwing their light spear at the portal, but the weapon only got sucked in. Donaseek. Damn it. What did you do, brat? Issei. How the fuck should I know? Suddenly, the group heard a loud growl from the portal. This sent a shiver down their spines as a type of web was shot out and stuck to everyone's leg. Their eyes widened as they tried to free themselves, but before they could they were pulled into the portal. Issei. Shit. 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 I blame you, system. As Issei was pulled into the portal, it closed behind him. The brown-haired boy fell for a good couple of seconds before he landed on a rocky ground with a loud thud, letting out a small groan from the impact. Issei. Ow. Issei slowly sat up and shook his head. He looked around himself and saw that he was in some kind of cave system. He brought himself to his feet as he titled his head, what the hell was this place? Was it the dungeon? It must have been the dungeon, why else would the key act like that? Speaking of which, why did the key act like that? Issei thought he had to go to a specific location to use the key to enter the dungeon. But apparently, the key just opened the dungeon under the brown-haired boy's feet. It had to be the work of the system. As Issei was thinking, he heard a noise from above. It sounded like snoring. What could be snoring within a cave system? A lizard? A dragon? A wolf? Or a bear? He slowly looked up and his eyes widened in both shock and horror. It wasn't any of those things. It was something else, something more horrifying. It was a massive spider that looked like a tarantula. It had a grey carapace on its abdomen with 8 legs, covered in black chitinous armor with grey exposed joints. It also had multiple glowing red eyes. Giant arachnid Burura. Issei. No way is that the boss of this dungeon. Issei didn't think he would just appear in front of the boss. He thought he had to fight the other creatures within the dungeon first. However, it appears that he won't have to. The brown-haired boy noticed a whole bunch of large lumps scattered across the massive spider web. He guessed the spider killed all the other creatures. Issei shouldn't really be surprised. Spiders are known to have massive appetites. They could eat loads and store the rest. Issei. Thank God it's asleep. As Issei was staring at the spider, he wondered something. What happened to the fallen angels? They also were pulled into the dungeon along with Issei. Did the spider take them out already? Suddenly, Issei sensed something and moved. A blue light spear came by and missed his head by an inch, but it did leave a mark on his cheek. The brown-haired boy looked over at where the light spear came from. He saw Donaseek and the other fallen angels. They did not look very happy. Donaseek. You brat. Where have you taken us? Issei narrowed his eyes. Issei. Why should I tell you? Donaseek growled, but he soon grew a grin as he summoned another spear. Donaseek. Doesn't matter, all we have to do is kill you, and this shall be over. Issei gritted his teeth as he summoned Kusaka's venom fang into his right hand, surprising Donaseek and the fallen angels. Donaseek. Is that your sacred gear? The brown-haired boy didn't answer the fallen angel as a screen appeared in front of him. An emergency quest has been issued. Issei. Huh? An emergency quest? What? Emergency quest. Kill the enemies. There are entities nearby that intend to murder the player. Slay them and ensure your safety. If this quest is not completed, a penalty will be issued as a result. Enemies required to be killed. 8 enemies killed. 0. Issei's eyes widen, he had to kill the fallen angels. What the hell was this? Issei has only killed monsters, he can't kill another human. Blood. But, they aren't humans plus Yuma killed him without mercy, she actually took pleasure in killing him. Blood. Blood. The brown-haired boy narrowed his eyes. He had to remember that everything focuses on the survival of the fittest. Blood. Threat. The strong survived while the weak had to die. Issei was weak, and so he died. Blood. Blood. Kill. But now, he was given the chance to become strong, and he isn't gonna let that go to waste. Kill if you don't want to be killed, kill the threat. Blood. Kill. Threat. Kill the enemy. If he had to kill to become strong, then he shall do it. After all, it would be very awkward if he just suddenly die after everything he has been through. Blood. Plus he made a promise to Sona, he intends to keep that promise. Promise. Sona. Promise. Issei let out a small chuckle. Issei. The system uses me, and I use the system. Ironic. He looked at Donaseek and the fallen angels. Issei took a fighting stance with his dagger at the ready. Issei. Alright, system. I'll play your little game. After I do all this, that spider is next. Chapter 10. Hunters are hunters. Third person Pav. Issei narrowed his eyes as he was having a standoff with Donaseek and his fallen angel buddies. In the brown-haired boy's hand was his venom dagger. It will be his first time using the dagger, but he was pretty sure that he can handle using it. When it comes to combat, daggers are extremely good for close-quarter combat. Sure, things such as a bow, a spear, or even a classic sword are good. However, even they have their limits and things. In open fields, they are superior to nearly any other weapon, but when it comes to being in close quarters, they are at a disadvantage. Emergency quest. Kill the enemies. There are entities nearby that intend to murder the player. Slay them and ensure your safety. If this quest is not completed, a penalty will be issued as a result. Enemies required to be killed. 8 enemies killed. 0. Issei. So I have to kill all 8 of them, or else they will kill me. Donaseek must be the strongest out of the group. Issei had never fought against other humans before, well, human-like beings. He had fought beast-like monsters, but this was completely different than the other dungeon. The chance of him winning or dying in the dungeon is around 50-50s, but whoever strikes first shall guarantee victory for the other. The brown-haired boy could easily attack now and probably kill around 1 or even 2 fallen angels, but if he did that then he could leave himself wide open. Something that Issei does not want to happen. The system may assist him in becoming stronger, but it was up to him to actually get stronger. His decisions will benefit him in the future, he has to make the right ones. Issei. 1 strike is all that is needed, 1 strike that shall decide if I will survive this. Donaseek narrowed his eyes at the brown-haired boy, feeling the dreadful aura coming from him. He was still wondering where the hell he and his comrades were currently, but that didn't matter right now. However, the black-haired man can't help but feel that something terrible will happen. Maybe that's why Rainer told him to bring backup. He thought that his mission was gonna be very easy. He thought that he was simply gonna kill a human that had great power and return to his base before anyone noticed his presence. But his leader, Rainer, ordered him to bring a squad of fallen angels with him. This surprised Donaseek because, besides Rainer herself, Donaseek was the strongest out of all the fallen angels that reside within the town of Kuo. Was she afraid? She must have sensed the brown-haired boy's dreadful aura, maybe that's the reason for her wanting Donaseek to bring backup with him. And again, the black-haired man remembers that she killed a human a week ago, if he remembered correctly. Was the human in front of him a friend of that human? Maybe she wants to make sure that no one tries to investigate what happened to that boy. Hey, Donaseek. Donaseek turned his head, looking at one of the fallen angels that accompanied him. Donaseek. What? The fallen angel grew a sinister smirk, he stepped forward. Fallen angel. I'll take care of this human. Donaseek watched as the fallen angel started to make his way toward the brown-haired boy. Donaseek couldn't help but feel like the fallen was gonna regret this action. However, there was nothing that the black-haired man could do, nothing to stop him. The fallen angel approached Issei, a malicious smirk growing on his face. This was gonna be an easy feat, he could kill the brown-haired boy before he even tries to defend himself. But before the fallen could think about throwing his light spear, Issei appeared in front of him with his dagger placed against the fallen's neck. The fallen's eyes widened in pure surprise at the fact that Issei was in front of him. How the hell did he do that? He just blinked and the brown-haired boy was in front of him. That shouldn't be possible, there is no way a human can move that fast. Humans are not capable of fighting supernatural beings, it would be like a baby trying to fight the fucking sun. It's just ridiculous, absolutely to the fullest. Issei used all his strength and slashed the fallen angel's head completely off his shoulders, causing blood to splatter across the rocky ground and across Issei's face. Issei. 1. The brown-haired boy's eyes glowed menacingly as he looked at Donaseek and the other fallen angel, whose eyes were wide as they stared in shock and horror. Issei glared at them as a screen appeared in front of him, causing a small smirk to grow on his face. Enemies required to be killed. 7. Enemies killed. 1. Issei. 1 day and 7 remain. That one I just killed was very cocky. Another screen appeared, showing his stats. The brown-haired boy's gaze turned to it as something got his attention, it was his level. His level didn't go up, he didn't get a notification of him getting a level up. Did that mean that the more he levels up the more he needs to kill to level up? He knew that it was a basic thing in video games, but in those, you could see how much XP you get from killing a mob. Issei can't see how much XP he gets, so he could be getting like 100 per kill or simply 5 per kill. The brown-haired boy didn't really seem to care when he was back in that other dungeon, but back then he nearly died multiple times and was only focused on leveling up his stats. But since he is higher level than he was before, he should be wondering about things like this. Issei. Do supernatural beings not give XP? I should have leveled up to the next level by now, I've done my daily quest every single day since I left the hospital. Does it have to be the monsters that come from the dungeon? Donaseek and the remaining fallen angels continued to stare at Issei with shocked expressions. They still couldn't believe what they had just witnessed, one of their own was just killed by a human. They hoped they were only imagining this, they weren't scared, but they were confused. They have lived among the pathetic humans for many years and have seen that they aren't very strong. Fallen Angel 1. How is this possible? Fallen Angel 2. There is no way a human can do that, there is no way that one can do it. Donaseek gritted his teeth as he glared at the brown-haired boy. Donaseek. How the hell did you do that? Issei didn't reply to the black-haired man's question, he slowly made his way toward the supernatural beings, keeping his serious expression. He was only following the system's orders, still, it didn't change the fact that he killed someone. Luckily, it wasn't a human being. If he doesn't kill them then he shall be killed. He can't back down now, he has come too far and is risking his life to become stronger. Issei tightened his grip on his dagger, the memories of his pointless life, going along in an endless loop with no purpose whatsoever. His death, he remembered every single agonizing moment of his death, he remembered all of it. He had to do this. He had no other choice, he had to become stronger. After all. Issei. Only the strong will survive. The dark aura started covering Issei's entire body, the aura sent shivers down the spines of Donosik and the remaining fallen angels. But they weren't the only ones who sensed the aura, the giant arachnid Buyura who was still sleeping up till this point, slowly started to wake up. It had just fed upon all the other creatures that lived within the dungeon and took a nap, waiting for its next meal to turn up on its doorstep. However, it wasn't expected to be greeted by a powerful and menacing aura. It felt dark and cold, it made the giant arachnid Buyura feel like it was within the abyss or something. It didn't know how to feel about it. On one hand, it felt enraged that something was within its home and trying to show that it was more powerful than it. And again, on the other hand, it also felt something it had never felt before. It was an emotion it had only seen other living creatures feel. The emotion giant arachnid Buyura was feeling was fear. Meanwhile, at an abandoned church. On the outskirts of Kuo, there stood a church that seemed to be abandoned for many years now. The church appeared to be around 2 stories tall, it had broken windows, damaged walls, and appeared to be overrun with vines and other types of plant life. The sky surrounding the church was dark with the clouds a silvery gray color, almost like it was gonna rain or something. Within the abandoned church, a loud annoyance could be heard. "I'm so fucking bored." Sitting on one of the old seats was a girl with blonde hair which was styled into twin tails and blue eyes. She wore a gothic Lolita attire, which consisted of a black dress with white frills, a large black bow on the front, a green jewel embedded on the collar, white thigh-high socks, and black shoes. She also wore a large black bow on top of her hair. "Where's Donosik? He's been gone for hours now. Will you shut up, Middled? Your voice is getting on my nerves." The blonde-haired girl named Middled looked over to her right and saw one of her comrades. The person was a tall and buxom woman with brown eyes and long, navy blue hair that obscured her right eye. Her attire consisted of a maroon trench coat-like top with a wide collar, a matching miniskirt, and black-heeled shoes. The trench coat top was open at her chest, giving a view of her breasts and cleavage. She also wore a gold necklace around her neck. She appears to wear a white shirt underneath her top, but it can only be seen from the bottom. Middle glared at the woman. "Middle. Shut up, Calwerner. You have no right to tell me what to do." The woman named Calwerner narrowed her eyes at the blonde-haired girl. How dare she say that when she was her superior? The 2 females were not normal people, in fact, they were not human at all. They were supernatural beings, fallen angels to be exact. They had been residing within Kuo for a while now, there weren't many of them, only around 15 to 20 of them. The last thing they wanted was to be spotted by the devils that resided within Kuo, but they get the feeling stealth isn't much of an option anymore. The devils should have sensed their presence ages ago, so either the devils within Kuo are very stupid or they do know and are waiting for the perfect moment to attack them. "Calwerner. In case you forgot, Middled. Besides Rainer and Donosik, I am the next in line." "Middled. I don't care. Also, where even is Donosik?" Their comrade, Donosik, had been gone for a few hours now. They were told that he had to go kill a single human, but that he was gone for a while now, and they have no idea where he is. Both Middleton and Calwerner continued to argue with each other for around a couple of minutes, making loads of loud noise. This caused someone to sigh in annoyance and walk over to the 2 women. "Will you both shut up?" Both Calwerner and Middleton looked at where the voice came from and saw their leader, Rainer. Rainer was an attractive young woman with violet eyes having a slender body. She had long silky black hair down to her hips and possessed 2 black feathered wings. Her attire consisted of black, strap-like objects resembling leather around and under her breasts, a thong-like piece held around her hips by 3 thin straps, gloves that ran right up her arms with small lengths of chains hanging from them, shoulder guard-like objects on her shoulders, with 3 large spikes sprouting from her right shoulder, and black thigh-high heel boots. Her attire consisted of black, strap-like objects resembling leather around and under her breasts, a thong-like piece held around her hips by 3 thin straps, gloves that ran right up her arms with small lengths of chains hanging from them, shoe. "Calwerner. Rainer, what are you doing here?" Rainer glared at the blue-haired woman. "Rainer. I was trying to plan out how we're gonna take that girl's sacred gear when she arrives, but I can't really think about it when you 2 bitches are yelling at each other like a married couple." Both Middleton and Calwerner flinched a little, they may all be fallen angels, but there were major differences between them. For starters, Rainer was easily the strongest out of all of them, with Donosik coming in second place. Rainer was the one coming up with the plans that they did, she was also the one who personally took care of any loose ends that could hinder their plans. Middleton and Calwerner knew that they shouldn't really try and anger her, sure they may be on the same team, but that didn't mean that they were safe from being killed. Rainer could easily kill them if she wanted to, but she hasn't because she finds them useful. She needs them for her plans, a plan that they are still not sure will work. Middleton, sorry Rainer. We didn't mean to anger you. Rainer sighed. Rainer. I swear, you both are gonna be the death of me. No, that's my job. Rainer, middled, and Kalwerner's eyes widened from the sudden new voice. They quickly looked over and saw a hooded figure. The fallen angel's eyes widened as they were greeted by a massive surge of power. They had never felt anything like it before. It made their blood run cold and their body trembles before whoever it was. Rainer. Who the hell are you? The figure grew a small smirk, his eyes glowing a menacing crimson-red color. Destruction. Back with Issei. The brown-haired boy dodged a light spear that was thrown at him by one of the fallen angels, who was ordered to throw it at Issei. Fallen angel. Stand still, you little shit. Issei continued to dodge the constant attacks, having to use his dagger to block a few of them. But he was soon able to close the distance between him and the fallen angel, glaring at the supernatural being who was terrified at this point. How is a human moving this fast? This shouldn't be even possible. This had to be the work of a sacred gear, it had to be the work of one of those artifacts made by God. Issei. Your tricks are getting in my way. The brown-haired boy started to use his dagger to slice the fallen's arm off, causing blood to splurt from the stump. But that was the end of it. Issei soon started to slice and dice the supernatural being into millions of pieces. Onepiece stared in pure horror, not able to even figure out what was going on. Fallen Angel 3. That piece of shit. Fallen Angel 4. Die. The third fallen angel was about to attack Issei with his light spear, but his eyes soon widened as blood erupted from his mouth. Issei somehow appeared behind the supernatural being, slicing his chest with his dagger. The fourth was shocked at this, but he soon shook off that feeling and was about to strike him with his own light spear. However, Issei dodged the attack and grabbed his arm. He soon smirked and with his strength, Issei broke the arm of the supernatural being. The fallen angel screamed in pain and agony, the brown-haired boy then sliced him in the gut. Blood erupted from the fallen's mouth and gut as time seemed to slow down for him. Fallen Angel 4. How can a human move like this? I can't block his attacks. They're too fast. Issei narrowed his eyes as he gripped his dagger tighter, his eyes glowing as he took down another fallen angel, who foolishly attempted to attack him when his back was turned. But he didn't kill him, he instead used one of his dagger's abilities and inflicted bleed on him. The fallen started screaming in pure agony, he started rolling on the ground. Issei. Hunters are born to hunt those weaker. The fallen continued to scream in pure agony, continuing to roll across the ground. Fallen Angel 5. Gah. Who the hell is this human? Lifting his dagger up, Issei stabbed it into the fallen's head, killing him instantly. Issei. I have to become one, I must become a hunter. The brown-haired boy panted slightly, feeling a little fatigue from all he had just done. However, he still had loads of stamina left before he drops to his knees. He then turned his head to the final member of the fallen angel party, the strongest of them all. Onepiece took a step back, his entire body shivering in complete and utter fear. He couldn't believe what he had just witnessed, it was not possible. Onepiece. He took out my entire squad. The black-haired man soon gritted his teeth, summoning another light spear in his other hand, and glared at Issei. Onepiece. You bastard. How dare you take down my squad? You pathetic human. Issei narrowed his eyes. Enemies required to be killed. 1. Enemies killed. 7. The holy aura slowly started to cover the fallen angel's body, letting the magic aura wash over the brown-haired boy's body. However, Issei didn't feel affected by it at all. Sure, it was impressive, but he didn't feel afraid at all. Maybe it was because of the system, after all, he didn't feel afraid of Rias or Sona, and they were devils. Onepiece. I didn't think every single one of my guys was gonna be killed, but I'll show you why I'm the strongest of them all. Issei prepared himself for whatever the black-haired man was gonna do, but he didn't really get to do much because he was soon stabbed through the mouth by the leg of the giant arachnid Buyura. Issei's eyes widened as he did not expect this to happen, he wasn't really complaining, but it did seem a bit rude to steal his kill. However, then again, was the giant arachnid Buyura really intelligent? It was a monster that was from the dungeon, or was it made by the system? Did the system make everything? The giant arachnid Buyura growled as it lifted up its leg, tossing the now deceased body of Onepiece away and smashing it against the wall. Issei. Well, that was anticlimactic. The screen appeared in front of the brown-haired boy. You have met all the requirements to complete the urgent quest. Defeat the enemies. Choose your reward. Reward 1. Status recovery. Reward 2. Ability points plus 10. Reward 3. Skill. Bloodlust. Issei's eyes widened in shock when he noticed the third reward option, a skill. He couldn't believe his eyes at what he was seeing, and from the name, the brown-haired boy could guess what it did. Issei. Depending on how much mana is required, this skill could make me a true monster in the eyes of others around me. A small smirk grew on Issei's face, he picked the third option and felt a surge of power flow through his veins. Chuckling, the brown-haired boy looked over at the giant arachnid Buyura, who stared down at Issei, growling at the boy. Issei. Looks like I got a deal with you now. The giant arachnid Burura let out a thunderous roar, causing a gust of wind that nearly swept Issei off his feet. However, Issei didn't feel afraid whatsoever. He had a new skill to test out, and he had the perfect test subject to use it on. Talk about convenience. Gripping onto his dagger, the brown-haired boy slowly began charging toward the giant spider to enrage it in combat. Issei. Let the battle begin. Chapter 11. Stray. Third-person POV. The bright light appeared within the park of Kuo. The illumination caused birds to scatter from the trees and fly into the air. From the light came isseihyoudou, who fell face first onto the ground. The impact caused a small thud and caused pain to shoot through the brown-haired boy's face. He groaned as he opened his eyes, staring at the dirt ground. Issei. Ow, note to self, work on landing. He sighed as he slowly brought himself up. He stood up and started to dust off his clothes. He made sure to check his nose to make sure it wasn't broken. Luckily for him it wasn't. Good. The last thing he needs right now is his mother Sona concerned about him. Right now he has bigger things to worry about. He was exhausted both mentally and physically, and his clothes were worn a little and covered in blood. He looked down at his right hand. On one of his fingers was a mysterious ring. The ring was made out of a strange type of gold, darker in color with strange patterns. To top it all off, the ring also had a bright green jewel embedded within it, which gave off a powerful magical aura. To top it all off, the ring also had a bright green jewel embedded within it, which gave off a powerful magical aura. Item. Ring of Loki. Item class. S. Type. Armor. Plus 25. Intelligence. Plus 300 MP. Effect illusions. Wielder can create up to 10 illusion clones. Issei. The Ring of Loki, my first S-rank item, and to think he just gave it to me. The brown-haired boy could help but chuckle as he recalled how he obtained such an item. It was quite the tale. Flashback. Issei charged toward the giant arachnid, his dagger in his hand as he was ready to battle the mighty creature. Said creature roared as it tried to attack Issei with its massive jaws, but it failed when Issei easily dodged the attack. Issei. I'm currently level 18, I should. Issei jumped into the air as the giant arachnid Burura slammed one of its massive legs. The brown-haired boy's eyes glowed a slight purple color as he landed. Issei. Be able to take on a C-rank boss. Gritting his teeth, Issei began to unleash a barrage of slashes upon the giant arachnid. The monster roared in pain as it tried to retaliate against Issei, but he dodged the monster's attempts and unleashed another attack upon the arachnid. Issei. My attack worked. Issei was honestly surprised by this. He didn't think that his attack would have been capable of damaging the monster's hide. Turns out he was completely wrong. His dagger did more than he thought it would. His gaze turned to his dagger, which was dripping with a strange green substance. If he had to take a guess, it was the giant arachnid's blood. Issei. Kasaka's venom fang is a pretty good dagger. This made Issei wonder what kind of things he will get later on. After all, this was only a rank C item. There is still the chance of getting something like an S rank, or maybe even an SS rank item. A small smirk grew on Issei's face as the brown-haired boy let out a small chuckle. Issei. I might end up turning into some sort of overpowered anime protag. Before Issei could finish what he was thinking, he was struck in the chest by an immense force and sent flying. He crashed into the rocky walls and a wave of pain shot through his entire body. Issei. Arg. Issei slowly glared at the giant arachnid Burura, which was what struck him. He guessed that it used one of its legs when he was busy thinking. Mental note to himself, keep his head in the battle than worry about becoming overpowered later. Issei brought himself to his feet and cracked his neck, his eyes glowing slightly purple. Issei. The real hunting begins now. The giant arachnid let out a thunderous roar as Issei charged toward it. The brown-haired boy leaped into the air and started to unleash barrage after barrage of slashes upon the monster. The arachnid tried to attack Issei with its fangs and its legs, but he easily dodged the giant's attacks without much difficulty. Issei feels like he will be able to take down the monster because he has a few advantages. For starters, the size difference. The Burura was easily the same size, if not twice the size of a house, which means that it has loads of strength. However, unless its opponent is slow and stupid, Issei has the advantage in speed. In a fight between strength and speed, sure, the first to land a devastating blow can easily win the match. However, if the opponent can outmaneuver the person, or in Issei's case the giant arachnid, then speed comes out on top. As Issei continued to attack the monster, he noticed that his weapon was slowly starting to bounce off its hide. Issei. Its outer shell is pretty tough. If I want to damage, then I need to use as much force as possible. The spider attempted to squash Issei with one of its massive legs, but the brown-haired boy jumped backward. Though the attack did do something, it caused immense destruction when it made contact with the ground. The giant arachnid growled at Issei, who narrowed his eyes but remained on guard. He started to come up with ideas that could help him defeat the beast. Maybe he could sneak up on it and deliver a fatal blow. Then again, he was in a room full of sticky webs, so there wasn't really anywhere he could hide. Plus the spider had 8 eyes, he could see him come from nearly any direction. Then there was its destructive power. Issei. Besides its 8 eyes, this thing's destructive power is strong enough to break through any object, whether it be the ground or a boulder. Issei gritted his teeth, every attack the spider was throwing at him could be a fatal blow. Sure, he survived the first strike from the beast, but he gets the feeling that he won't be able to handle much more. Issei. I should take some time to see if I can figure out this thing's weakness, it has to have one. What could possibly be this monster's weakness? The eyes? An obvious choice, though the most difficult to reach in Issei's opinion. He could do it, but if he makes one wrong move, then it could be the end of the brown-haired boy. Plus there was no way that the weakness was the inside of the giant arachnid's mouth, that would be the most dangerous part of it. He also doesn't know if it can use venom-type attacks, that would be pretty bad for Issei if that were the case. Issei actually is wondering if the venom is like his venom dagger. Issei. Wait, was that snake even venomous? It mainly used its tail to strike me. Then again, I was trying to stay clear from its mouth so it could have had venom within its fangs. The brown-haired boy panted slightly as he prepared himself for any kind of attack, he can't take this battle lightly. But there was another problem. Fatigue. 57. Issei. My fatigue is nearly at 60%, the higher my fatigue is the slower I will become. That isn't good. Issei gritted his teeth, he couldn't drag this battle out for much longer. There had to be some way for him to take this beast down in one fell swoop, maybe he can use his environment. Suddenly, a screen appeared in front of Issei's face which confused him. What did the system want? Couldn't it see that he was kinda in the middle of something very important right now? Warning. Urgent notice. The god of mischief, Loki, finds you interesting. This got Issei's attention, Loki as in the half-brother of Thor, the god of thunder. Why would the Norse god of mischief be interested in him? Actually, Issei had a better question. How the hell did Loki even know what he was doing? Was he the one who made the system? Couldn't be, the system said that Loki is finding Issei interesting, which means that he can't be the creator of the system. Loki would like to give you something to assist you, do you accept? Issei wasn't sure if he should agree to Loki's offer, he was the god of mischief after all. Plus if Issei knew anything from the Marvel movies and comics, you do not trust Loki at all. But the brown-haired boy can't help but wonder what it could be, maybe it was some kind of weapon that can instantly kill anything. Sounds overpowered, but Issei kinda likes that because it makes things easier for him. The giant arachnid growled at Issei who was focused on the screen and the beast, he had to make a choice and quick. Letting out a small sigh, he gave in. Issei. Alright, Loki. Let's see what you got me. At that moment a bright light appeared within the cave, the light was so bright that it caused Issei and the giant arachnid to look away from it or suffer becoming blind. Issei hopes that this wasn't just some troll, he didn't feel like seeing some sort of letter from the gods saying that he just got tricked or something. When the light died down, Issei was the first to look and his eyes widened at what he saw floating in front of him. It was some kind of ring, his best guess was an Asgardian one. The ring was made out of a strange type of gold, darker in color with strange patterns. To top it all off, the ring also had a bright green jewel embedded within it, which gave off a powerful magical aura. To top it all off, the ring also had a bright green jewel embedded within it, which gave off a powerful magical aura. Item. Ring of Loki. Item class. S. Type. Armor, plus 25, Intelligence, plus 300 MP, Effect Illusions. Wielder can create up to 10 illusion clones. Issei couldn't believe his eyes, it was an S-rank item and his very first one to be exact. Issei. Holy shit. The brown-haired boy honestly didn't know whether to be shocked, happy, or in awe. Loki actually gave him an S-rank item, but why would the god of mischief give him a mere mortal such a thing? The ring floated toward Issei as he held his hand out, the ring then floated onto one of his fingers on his right hand. When that happened, Issei felt a surge of power flow throughout his entire body. It wasn't like anything he had experienced before, not even when he got the system felt like this. Issei. Whoa, this feels amazing. The giant arachnid soon recovered from the bright light and growled at Issei, who stared at the ring before turning his attention to the beast in front of him. A small smirk grew on his face as he had just come up with a new idea on how to take care of this creature. Issei. Let's test this baby out. Suddenly, the jewel in the ring started to glow bright green as 10 Issei appeared out of thin air. They looked exactly like the original and even had the same weapon as him, this took the giant arachnid by surprise. All the Issei smirked as they charged toward the monster, 10 of them started to unleash barrage after barrage of slashes upon the monster which tried to retaliate with its own attacks. But as it was distracted the original Issei was making his way toward the monster's head, he had to admit that the power of the ring was really impressive. What sucked about it was that each illusion cost around 50 MP to create and recreate if they were destroyed. He was gonna need to invest a lot to get his MP as high as he could if he was gonna continue using the power of the ring in the future. When Issei arrived at the monster's head, the giant arachnid finally realized that there was someone on its body and tried to shake the brown-haired boy off as quickly as possible. Issei. Nice try. With glowing eyes, Issei plunged his dagger into one of the giant arachnid's eyeballs, which caused the beast to roar in immense pain and agony. But Issei did not stop there, he pulled his dagger out only to plunge it back into the eye. He continued to do this over and over again. Effect Paralyze has been activated. Effect Bleed has been activated. The opponent will lose 1% health every second. Issei smirked as he continued to stab the monster's eyeball repeatedly. This had to be enough to finish the beast off. If not, then he may not be capable of defeating it. His fatigue was reaching very high marks, and if it reached 100%, then he would be done for. It was a race against time. The giant arachnid roared in pure agony from the pain that it was feeling. It couldn't take it anymore. It wanted the pain to stop, which soon happened when its own head exploded. The illusion smirked as the spider fell to the ground, making a loud thud noise. You have defeated the dungeon boss. Level up. Level up. Level up. Issei couldn't help but smile. He leveled up 3 times. He should be around either 20 or 21 if he was correct, which was good, but was still not enough for the brown-haired boy. He needed to level up fast if he was gonna survive. He needed more strength, or rather more power. He turned his gaze over at the illusions and smiled at them. Issei. Thanks, couldn't have done it without you dudes. The clones nodded as they disappeared, leaving Issei all alone. Now that he has leveled up, he wonders what kind of reward he will get from the giant arachnid. Flashback end. Issei smiled at the memory, he was still wondering about the reward. However, he thinks that it's best if he heads back home and gets some sleep. Plus he is sure that his mother is worried sick if she hasn't pulled a late-nighter again. He knows his mother likes to do stuff like that, and he usually comes home and finds her passed out on the couch. Normally he has to take her to bed. He really wishes that she would just let him help her with the bills. Issei let out a small sigh. Issei. Time to head home, I guess. But that Issei started to slowly make his way home, he made sure to put his dagger away as he was walking. He didn't want to come across anyone and have them freak out about his dagger. That would be pretty bad for the brown-haired boy. As he was walking, he soon realized something. He never got the chance to use his new bloodlust skill against the spider boss. Issei froze as he remained silent for a couple of minutes. Issei. Fuck. Time skip brought to you by Sungjinwoo trying to get drunk but can't. Mickey. Eat up, honey. Issei and his mother were currently sitting in the living room of their home. On a small table was a box of fried chicken with 2 beverages. It was the next day, Saturday, so Issei's mother decided to get something special for breakfast, and she picked fried chicken. Issei didn't have any complaints, he enjoyed some good old-fashioned fried chicken. The brown-haired boy bit into a piece of chicken and was hit by the flavor. Issei. Is this a new spice? Mickey smiled. Mickey? Yeah, it's chili pepper flakes. Issei. Whoa, no wonder I can feel a little heat to it. The brown-haired boy's mother giggled as she ate a piece of chicken. Issei picked up one of the cans and began drinking from it. However, as he did, a screen popped up in front of him. Harmful substances have been detected in your body. Buff. Detoxification has been activated. You are now being healed. This was the reward that Issei received from the spider dungeon, a pretty useful one the more he thought about it. 3, 2, 1 You have been successfully detoxified. Issei rolled his eyes a little. While he admit that it was useful, he had a feeling that it was gonna be really annoying later on. The effect made him immune to all diseases, poisonous substances, and any other abnormalities in his status. That means if Issei can't get COVID or cancer, and if he went up against any monsters or say supernatural creatures that use poison, then he was basically invincible. Suddenly, Issei realized something. Since he had immunity to all types of poisonous substances, that meant, Issei. I have to check this out. If this works, then it will definitely assist me in my journey. The brown-haired boy stood up from the couch, gaining his mother's attention. Mickey. Where you going, sweetie? Issei. Just to my room, I've had enough chicken. Mickey. Oh, okay. You want me to put some in the fridge? Issei smiled at his mother. Issei. Sure. He turned and made his way into his room, making sure that the door was closed behind him. Issei held his hand out as a bag appeared in his palm. Item. Kasaka's venom gland. Level of difficulty. A. Type. Poison. Effect Kasaka's ironclad scales. 20% less physical damage. Side effect, muscle damage. -35, strength. Issei. I didn't use this item because of the side effect, but if I automatically recovered from being poisoned, then the side effect won't have an effect on me. The brown-haired boy let out a small sigh. There was no point in overthinking it. He opened the bag and poured the purple liquid down his throat. As he finished it, all a screen appeared once again. Harmful substances have been detected in your body. 3, 2, 1 You have been successfully detoxified. A small smirk grew on Issei's face when he saw this. Looks like his theory was correct. This was gonna be such a useful ability. He honestly couldn't wait to see the shocked expressions of whoever or whatever he was gonna face later on. They were gonna be in for a really big surprise. Issei. Alright, time to check my stats. Issei turned and looked at another screen, showing his stats. Name. Isseihyoudou. Job. None. Idle. Wolf assassin. Level. 21. Health points HP. 2600. Magic MP. 650. Fatigue. 0. Strength STR. 38. Brutality Vit. 30. Agility Agile. 30. Intelligence Int. 31. 25. Sense. 31. Available points. 0. Physical damage reduction. 20%. Issei. Okay, this looks good so far. But if I am gonna actually survive this world with Rias and the supernatural race at my doorstep, I'm gonna need to step this up and grind more. At that moment Issei heard a knock at the door which caused him to look over at it. Issei. Mom. What's up? The door opened and Mickey poked her head inside. Mickey. Hey sweetie, someone named Rias Gremory is calling you. This surprised Issei. What could Rias want with him? He did say that if she ever needed his assistance with anything then he would help, maybe she needed his help with something. Issei. Alright mom, I'll take care of it. The brown-haired woman nodded as she handed Issei the phone, she then closed the door to give her son some privacy. Issei placed the phone to his ear as he sat down on his bed. Issei. Hello Rias. What can I do for you? Rias. Phone. Issei. I have heard reports of a stray devil in the area. My peerage and I are gonna take care of it. Issei raised an eyebrow. Issei. Stray devil. What's that? Rias. Phone. I'll tell you in a bit, I just wanted to know if you want to come and watch. Issei took the moment to think about it, he might as well since he was gonna be getting involved with the supernatural a lot. He breathed in and out before he grew a serious expression, his eyes glowing. Issei. I'm in. Time skip brought to you by Jewish Vampire. Night had risen over the town of Kuo, everyone was inside their warm bed sleeping soundly, dreaming of whatever they desired. A bright red light appeared and from it came Issei, Rias, and her peerage. The brown-haired boy checked his surroundings and saw that they were at an abandoned warehouse, this gave Issei total horror movie vibes. Issei. Well, this place isn't creepy at all. Rias. First I'm seeing an abandoned warehouse. Issei shrugged his shoulders. Issei. Not sure. Rias. I see. She then looked at her peerage. Rias. Stay alert everyone. The crimson-haired devil girl's peerage nodded their heads as Rias turned her attention back to Issei. She could feel that Issei has gotten a lot stronger than the last time she saw him. This surprised her since she had just saw him yesterday, how could someone get stronger in a short amount of time? She'll worry about that after they deal with the stray devil. Rias. Tell me, Issei. Are you familiar with chess? Issei. Very little, I do know that Sona is unbeatable in it. Rias. Well as I the master, the king, along with my queen, my second command, my cavalier, the knight, my tank, the rook, the clergyman, the bishop, and my foot soldiers, the pawns. Those who become devils gain unique traits of any chess piece that they choose. Issei nodded in understanding. Rias. But if you betray your master or run away, you will become a stray devil. Issei crossed his arms. Issei. So a stray devil is simply a devil who abandons or kills their masters for their own desires. Rias nods. Rias. Yes, but they become something worse. This gained Issei's attention, he wondered what the crimson-haired girl meant by that. The group made their way inside the building, Issei fully expected to see some sort of monstrous creature. However, much to his disappointment he was greeted by nothing. The warehouse was completely empty, darkness had taken over most of the building. The windows were broken and the floor was both cracked and dirty. Issei. You know I should have expected this. Rias. Don't worry, Issei. You will soon see some act. I smell something good and something disgusting. Is it sweet or sour? The sudden voice made everyone on guard, their eyes darted around the room as they tried to find where the voice came from. Issei narrowed his eyes as he saw something hiding within the shadows. Issei. I can see you, come out. Whatever was in the shadows let out a small giggle as they slowly walked forward. Issei saw that the owner of the voice was a young woman with a voluptuous figure, she had grey eyes and long, black hair. To top it all off, she was naked. Issei blinked as he stared at the woman's naked body, he soon sighed and shook his head. Issei. Why do I get the feeling that this was gonna get hideous real quick? Rias. Visor, you abandoned your master to achieve your own desires. In the name of Marquis of Gremory you will die 1,000 deaths. The devil named Visor grew a smirk. Visor. Ha. I like to see you try, I'll paint these walls with your blood to match your hair. Suddenly, Issei saw something come out of the darkness. He saw what was basically Visor's lower half, she wasn't a normal devil per se. Her lower body was gigantic and beastly with 4 legs, with her front legs featuring humanoid hands with red claws. Issei stared at the monstrosity before him, if he was his old perverted self, then he would be drooling and terrified at the sight. Right now there was only one thing the brown-haired boy could say. Issei. Yer days. Rias. Kiba. Roger. Issei watched as the blonde-haired boy disappeared from view, normally he would think that something like that was because of teleportation. However, since Rias mentioned chess, this made Issei now believe that Kiba was a knight, which meant that his attribute was speed. Issei. So, Kiba is a knight. Rias. You're correct, what he lacks in strength he makes up for in speed and agility. Issei nodded in understanding as he watched Estray's giant front limbs being cut off, causing her to scream in immense pain. Issei had to admit that he was impressed, Kiba could easily be faster than he was. Even with the amount of speed he has, the brown-haired boy has the feeling that Kiba is holding back. Rias. Kaneko. Kaneko. Understood. Issei watched as Kaneko started to walk toward the stray devil, he was confused as he wondered what she was gonna do. He soon saw the stray reveal a giant mouth with massive piranha teeth, visor then ate Kaneko in one bite. Issei. Kaneko. Rias. It's okay, Issei. She's fine. Issei. Huh. The brown-haired boy watched as the stray devil's mouth was forced open and revealed that tea was because of Kaneko, her clothes were slightly ripped and she was holding the stray mouth open with her arms. Kaneko. So disgusting. Issei was surprised by this, he then looked at Rias. Issei. How? Rias smiled. Rias. She is my rook, her attribute is super strength. That won't even put a dent in her. Kaneko. See you on the flip side. The white-haired girl punched the stray devil in the mouth, breaking its teeth and sending her flying. After flying through the air for a little bit, Visor soon landed on the floor, feeling immense pain wash throughout her entire body. Issei walked up to Kaneko and gave her his jacket, this surprised her as she looked at him. Kaneko. Why? Issei smiled at her. Issei. Can't have you getting a cold. This caused Kaneko to blush slightly. Issei soon noticed the stray's arms that were sliced off were slowly starting to make their way toward Rias. The brown-haired boy narrowed his eyes as his ring glowed green, the arms tried to attack Rias who finally noticed, but before they made contact with the crimson-haired girl, they were struck by two of Issei's illusions. Rias blinked as she stared at the illusions. Rias. Issei. And Issei. The illusions looked at Rias and winked at her as they disappeared, she turned her attention to the original Issei who smiled. Rias blushed slightly as she smiled back. Rias. Thank you, Issei. Issei. No problem. Rias turned her attention to Akeno who made her way toward Visor. Rias. Akeno, finish her off. The black-haired girl giggled in excitement, sparks of electricity slowly appearing in her hands. Akeno. You're not the only one who likes to pay ROUGH. The stray started to tremble in fear. Akeno. Not gonna give up. Goody, I get to play some MORE. Akeno unleashed a powerful thunder attack upon Visor, causing the stray to scream in immense pain and agony. The entire room was illuminated by the light of the electricity, the echoes of agony filled Issei's ears as he almost felt bad. Rias. Akeno is my queen, her attribute is a combo of the other pieces and she is skilled in many kinds of spells. Akeno licked her lips. Rias. One more thing, she is into S&M. Hearing this caused a shiver to run down Issei's spine and he made a mental note to stay as far from her as possible. Rias steps forward. Rias. That's enough, Akeno. The black-haired girl stopped her attack as she pouted. Akeno. Oh. Over already. Rias walked toward Visor who lay on the ground, basically half dead from the attacks it suffered. Rias. Any last words? Visor. Fuck you. Rias narrowed her eyes. Rias. Very well then. Vegan thought. The crimson-haired devil girl unleashed a red and black energy attack which instantly vaporized the stray devil to nothing but ash. This shocked Issei as he had never seen such power before, he knew that she was definitely holding back her power. Issei felt a little bit worried if Rias had this kind of power, then he has to make sure he doesn't do anything to piss her off or else he will suffer a fate worse than death. Maybe there is a chance for him to survive against her power, maybe he just needs to level up more. Issei. Yeah days, this is gonna be one annoying journey. How do I'm protagonist deal with this? Chapter 12. Issei vs Cerberus. Third person POV. Issei. After seeing Rias and the others fight that stray I need to level up more. Currently, Issei was at his home taking a nice hot shower. He had just got back after watching Rias and her peerage battle the stray devil, Visor, or whatever her name was. Issei didn't really bother to remember the name since for starters he wants to get the mental image of that monstrosity out of his mind and second he had much to think about. When the brown-haired boy saw the battle, he was left speechless by their devil abilities. Rias and Akeno looked like they both had the power to annihilate anyone who crossed their path, to top it all off he gets the feeling that they were holding back. They probably have battled stray devils in Kuo for a while now and can easily take them out in a matter of minutes or even seconds. Meanwhile, Issei is struggling to battle the boss monsters from the dungeons. Of course, he knows that there is a complete difference, the stray devils were once regular devils, so they have more intelligence than the monsters that reside within the dungeon. However, Issei can't help but feel like all he has done so far has been for nothing. He needs to really take this seriously, otherwise, he will pay the price, and so will his mother. Issei gritted his teeth as his eyes started glowing slightly. Issei. No more. He looked at the ring that Loki had given him. The god gave him a mortal such a powerful ring because he was interested in him. Issei needs to not disappoint him, otherwise the half-brother of Thor may end up taking back what was once his. Issei. It's time to take this seriously. After a while, Issei turned off the shower and started to dry himself off. When that was done, he made his way back to his bedroom and quickly put on some spare clothes. Tomorrow was the weekend, so he didn't have to worry about school. This was a good thing since it was the weekend. Issei could now go off and level up before heading back to school when the weekend was over. The brown-haired boy made his way out of his room after putting on some clothes. He walked into the living room and saw his mother fast asleep at her desk. In front of her were some books and folders which Issei can guess were from her work. He guessed that she was ordered to sign some paperwork or whatever. Issei sighed. Issei. Yer days, mom. He picked up the blanket from the couch and walked over to his sleeping mother. Issei slowly and quietly placed the blanket on his mother before backing off. The last thing he wanted was for his mother to catch a cold or freeze while she slept. He deeply cares about his mother since she was always there for him. Issei barely knows anything about his father, doesn't even know what he looks like, and there aren't any pictures of him anywhere within the house. If there were any, then Issei would have seen them by now. The house they were in wasn't along the lines of massive, it was more simple. Yep, Issei was a boy who lived in an average house and has no idea who his father's identity is. Talk about original. Issei walked away from his sleeping mother, not wanting to wake her up. As he did, he made a screen appear to check his stats. Name. Isseihyoudou. Job. None. Title. Wolf Assassin. Level. 21. Health points HP. 2600. Magic MP. 650. Fatigue. 0. Strength STR. 38. Brutality Vit. 30. Agility Agile. 30. Intelligence Int. 31. 25. Sense. 31. Available points. 0. Physical damage reduction. 20%. Issei. Level 21 is a decent start. If this was a video game, then I would say that I could easily handle E rank to maybe C rank creatures and bosses. Well, that sounds like a good thing. In reality, it truly isn't, because Issei has come to understand something about the system and the dungeons that it creates. Nothing can be predicted. It's like moving through a fog because he isn't sure what will be ahead of him. For all the brown-haired boy knows, he could enter a C rank dungeon one day and find an S rank boss just waiting for him. He needs to be smart with what he does, but he can't be too cautious about it because that may also end up biting him in the butt later. For now, Issei thinks that he will simply go for a walk. He doesn't really feel all that tired at the moment. The brown-haired boy has a tendency of staying up late anyways, so this wasn't really new to him. Plus, if the system decides to give him his daily quest, then he will be able to do it and not have to worry about getting any penalty. He doesn't want to deal with that place until he gets stronger. Issei made his way to the front door and grabbed the doorknob. He opened the door and walked outside while closing the door behind him. It was a chilly night. Luckily, Issei remembered to grab his jacket before he left. He wasn't the idiotic perverted boy he once was. He was new and improved. Issei took a deep breath before letting out a small sigh, causing a small breath cloud to appear since it was cold. This made the brown-haired boy chuckle slightly before he started heading off in a direction. He had to admit that it was very peaceful within Kuo at night time. One would rarely hear anything at this time. If Issei had to think of anything that someone would hear, he would have to go with either the wind or any nighttime creatures. Speaking of which, it was also rare to see any animals within Kuo. Not sure why, maybe it was because it was a small town, so there wasn't really a point in people getting pets. Issei wanted a pet when he was younger. He wanted a dog, but his mother said that they couldn't because they didn't have the money for it. To this very day, Issei still wonders what it would be like to have a dog as a pet. Maybe one day after he figures out who gave him the system, he will leave Kuo and move to a place where he can actually get one. It sounded like a good idea. But there was only one problem. Issei cares deeply about his mother. He can't leave her. She would be devastated since the brown-haired boy was the only family she had left. Issei's grandparents passed away when he was younger, and his aunt never comes to visit, and like before, Issei also has no clue who his father even is or looks like. All his mother had left was him. He can't leave her as they did. He has to be there for his mother. Plus, he felt more of the responsible one, which is funny when one thinks about it, since Issei is merely a teenager, while his mother on the other hand is a mature woman. Then again, people have thought that the two look like siblings since his mother looked so young. Issei was still trying to figure that out. The brown-haired boy let out a small sigh. Issei. Life full of wonder, misery, and adventure. Suddenly, Issei heard a noise coming from his right. He quickly looked over and saw that it was coming from the bush. He narrowed his eyes as he quickly summoned his dagger, just in case it was some kind of attack. The noise grew louder and louder until a black cat came out of the bushes. The black cat came out of the bushes. Issei. A cat. The brown-haired boy observed the creature, it didn't have a collar, so that meant it was a stray, and yet its fur was totally clean. This instantly set off alarms in his mind, something wasn't right about this entire situation. Issei has seen pictures of stray animals in the past, both cats and dogs' fur is normally very dirty and sometimes jagged. But the cat that was in front of Issei was completely clean, there was no way it cleaned itself to perfection. Something felt off about that black cat, Issei wasn't sure why though. There was also another thing that didn't make sense to Issei. Issei. Why has a cat just suddenly turned up in Kuo? There haven't been any in the past. He approached the cat who simply stared at the brown-haired boy with its yellow eyes that seemed to almost glow in the night. When he got to it he slowly crouched down. Issei. Hey there little guy or girl. The cat simply stared at Issei in silence before it approached him and started to nuzzle its head up against Issei's leg, good to know that it was friendly. Issei really didn't want to deal with a hostile cat, that was the last thing he needed. The cat purred which made Issei smile, he then started petting the cat which it seemed to enjoy quite a bit. Issei. You're a cute one, aren't you? The cat let out another purr in response to the brown-haired boy's question. Issei picked up the cat and held it in his arms. Issei. You don't seem to have a collar, does that mean that you have no owner? The feline let out a cute meow which made Issei chuckle in response. Well, he had admitted that it was the cat gave off a strange feeling he can't help but feel like he was supposed to find this cat. Was it fate? Was it because of the system? Did it have some sort of motive? No, there can't be a reason for it to do something like that. The brown-haired boy let out a small sigh. Issei. I can't believe I'm gonna say this. He looked at the cat and grew a small smile, he wasn't sure if this was truly a good idea or not, but if it turned out to be a bad one. He'll deal with that when it comes to it. Issei. Looks like you're coming with me, girl. The cat purred and nuzzled into Issei's chest, the brown-haired boy then realized that he needs to come up with a name for it. Issei. What should I name you? Issei began to think long and hard, he didn't want to make any mistakes while coming up with one for her. But what could be a good name for a black cat? Nero? Kuro? Yoru? Chichi? Issei's eyes widened as he finally got the perfect name suggestion for the black cat. Issei. I know. I'll call you, Yoruchi. The black cat, now named Yoruchi, purred at the new name given to her by the brown-haired boy, making Issei chuckle because she really seemed to like it. Issei. That's good to hear. Time skip brought to you by Bayverse Transformers vs Primiverse Transformers. It was a new day in the town of Kuo, the sun was shining brightly as the birds flew through the air. Issei. Mom, why did you want to work out with me all of a sudden? Currently, Issei and his mother were at the park in regular clothing. Issei wore a white shirt which was covered by a blue jacket, long black pants, and gray shoes. Miki on the other hand wore a similar shirt with a pink jacket over it, she wore white shorts with long black ones underneath and pink shoes. Miki. Well, I feel like you're getting full of yourself. Plus, it will help my joints after I woke up at my desk. Issei. It was your fault for falling asleep in the first place. This caused the brown-haired woman to pout at her son. Miki. I had a lot of work to do, plus at least I'm not the one who brought in a stray cat. Issei's mother found out about Yoruchi when the black cat accidentally woke up while she was still sleeping. Of course, his mother wanted to know where the brown-haired boy got the cat from, and he told her. He told her that he went out for a walk and discovered her. He told her that even though she was a stray, she was really clean and tamed, which he still finds strange. After a little convincing, Miki decided to allow Issei to keep Yoruchi, but he will be the only responsible one for the feline. Issei doesn't really have a problem with that since she has been well behaved since he brought her into his home, plus all cats tend to just sleep all day. Issei. Hey, you told me I could keep Yoruchi. Miki rolled her eyes. Miki. Whatever, so are we gonna start of what? Issei nodded. Issei. Yeah, but I won't wait for you if you can't keep up. Miki. I'll be fine. Issei shook his head as he and his mother began their jog. The reason they were doing this was that Issei needed to finish up his daily quest, and well, his mother decided to join him. As they were running, Issei can't help but think back to all that stuff on his mother's desk. That stuff was all the work she had to do just to get enough money to keep them fed. They were very lucky if they managed to get some good food. The brown-haired boy has told his mother in the past that he can get a part-time job, but she refused to let him do it. However, the more he thinks about it, there might be a way for him to get the money so he and his mother get a better life without getting a part-time job. Issei has got numerous items and other stuff from the dungeons, he could sell them off and get a whole bunch of cash. He wasn't sure how it would transfer into dollar bills, but he was sure that he would find a way. Issei. Hey, Mom. The brown-haired woman looked at her son as she kept jogging. Miki. Yes. Issei. Let's say you somehow got $30 billion, what would you do with that money? Miki thought about it for a moment, panting as she was struggling to keep up with Issei. She wasn't very old, but she wasn't like she used to be. Also, the fact that she doesn't know about her son having the ability to increase his speed with each level he gets. Miki. I guess I'd use the money to get us a better home and get as much food as we can desire. The rest I would put into a saving account just in case. Just then she realized something about the number her son gave her for the question. To her it felt a little unrealistic. Mickey? Why did you say that number, sweetie? 30 billion sounds a bit unrealistic. So why? Issei simply shrugged at his mother's question. Issei? Not sure, just thought of a random number. This made the brown-haired woman deadpan at her son, which made Issei chuckle. Mickey soon started giggling as well, but soon saw that her son was getting further and further ahead of her. This surprised her because of how fast he was going. It was like he went from 0 to 100 in a second. She has seen her son run before, normally when he gets chased by the kendo girls for peeping on them, and even then he was nowhere this fast. This was something else. Mickey? Issei. Issei. Slow down. However, the brown-haired boy didn't hear his mother's words as he continued to dash off into the distance. It got to the point that Mickey had to stop running because she was running out of breath and felt like she was gonna throw up. Panting heavily, she walked over to a bench and sat down on it. Mickey? Geez, when did Issei get that fast? Suddenly, Mickey heard a chuckle as she saw a bottle of water in front of her. Dear, you look exhausted. Mickey? Thanks. Mickey took the bottle of water and took the cap off. She then started to drink the cold water, which felt really good. She really needed this drink and probably won't do any more exercising with Issei because she can already feel her muscles getting tense. Mickey? Thanks for the water. The brown-haired woman turned to see the one who gave her the water bottle when she did her face because to heat up. The person in front of her was a tall man appearing to be in his 20s with an average build, black hair, golden bangs, and a black goatee. He wore a V-neck maroon long coat with a wide open high collar that opens up at the hem. The long coat also featured 2 black belts around the waist and 4 black bands on each arm, 2 of the bands at the wrist and the other 2 near the elbow. He wore gray slacks and brown shoes. Mickey had to admit that the man in front of her looked really handsome. If she was to compare him with her husband before he disappeared, then she would proudly say that both would look like supermodels. Mickey? Whoa, he's handsome. Suddenly, she realized what she was thinking and her face went bright red. Man? Hey, you alright? Mickey? Why yeah, I'm perfectly fine. The man noticed the brown-haired woman blush and couldn't help but chuckle. Azazel, you still got it. He then bowed to Mickey, placing his hand on his chest. Azazel. Pleasure to meet you, my dear. My name is Azazel. Mickey? I'm Mickey highschooldxd. Azazel's eyes widened slightly from hearing her name. It was a name that he was been mentioned before a long time ago. Azazel. So, this is her, the one he told me about. Azazel has to say that Mickey looked smoking hot. He almost thought that she was some sort of teenager. But after hearing the name highschooldxd, he now knows that she is older than that but not too old. Meanwhile with Issei. Issei panted slightly as he continued with his jogging. The brown-haired boy wasn't wasting a single moment because he wanted to see what this daily quest will give him as a reward. He already knew that he was gonna get the usual rewards, but the random loot box was the most important one because Issei won't know what is inside of it unless he picks it. So far he has gotten 2 dungeon keys from it. The first was an F rank and the second was an C rank key. This has made him curious about something. Is it only dungeon keys he will get from the loot box? Does he get something else? He doesn't mind the dungeon keys because they help the brown-haired boy level up quickly, but he just doesn't want to only get them. It would be nice if he got something like a new item or a new weapon, that was all he was saying. As he jogged he heard the sound of a ding, signaling the end of his quest, as a screen appeared in front of him. Daily quest. Trained to become a formidable combatant has been completed. Seeing this brought a small smile to Issei's face. He then brought himself to a full stop as he just realized that his mother was not behind him anymore. Issei? Huh? Mom's not behind me anymore. Did she fall behind? Issei crossed his arms. He warned his mother that he would wait for her if she fell behind. She was confident in her ability to catch up with the brown-haired boy. Looks like she was just all talk. He shook his head since it was the weekend his mother wouldn't be doing work. Plus it was a small town, so she won't get herself lost. Issei turned his attention to a screen when he did, his eyes widened from what he saw. Push-ups, 100 100s. Sit-ups, 100 100s. Squats, 100 100s. Run 11 10 km. Issei. What the, kept track of the extra exercise I did, even though the quest is already completed. This made Issei more curious now. Did this mean that he could push past his limit and see what will happen? Will the system give him double the amount of loot? He doubts that because when has the system ever been nice to the brown-haired boy? As far as Issei knows, the system has been nothing more than a complete asshole. He still hasn't forgiven it for putting that book on how to pick up girls. Will it allow him to not do the next daily quest since he has already done double? That would be nice, but Issei also doubts that one for a simple reason. The system uses him and he does the same with it. Issei uses the system to get stronger, and it uses him too well. He isn't sure yet, but what the brown-haired boy does know is that things aren't as easy as they sound. Issei let out a small sigh. Issei. Yer days, things are just getting weirder by the day. He then turned his attention to the ring of Loki that was still on his finger. Issei. You have some sort of plan for me, don't you, Loki? Time skip brought to you by Gore the God Butcher in Record of Ragnarok. A few hours have passed since Issei discovered that the system tracks any extra exercise that he does, and this made him decide to push past his regular limits. It wasn't easy, even if Issei has grown so much from his old self. However, it was worth it in the end because he got something very interesting. Currently, Issei was in a part of Kuo with his hoodie over his head and wielding his venom fang dagger in his right hand. Push-ups, 200 100s. Sit-ups, 200 100s. Squats 200 100s. Run 20-10 km. Issei let out a small chuckle as he reached into his jacket pocket. When he was doing the extra work for his daily quest, something happened. Turns out that it turned into a hidden quest. The brown-haired boy is taking a stay guess, but he thinks that this will be something that will happen a few times as he continues to get stronger. Issei took out a red key. It was no regular cat though. It was a dungeon key. He obtained it from the random loot box, but this one was much different. Because. Item. Key to the demon's castle. Level of difficulty. S. Type. Key. It was an S rank key, his very first one, and just from its name Issei can already tell that he will be going to a demonic place. Issei chuckled as he looked at the key in his hand. He was honestly surprised when he obtained it from the loot box. Issei. Looks like I was wrong, I did all that extra work and got something way better in the end. This makes Issei more curious about these hidden quests. Before he was thinking that they would only show up a few times. But now he thinks that they will be given when he exceeds the requirements of the daily quest. If that was the case, then Issei may be getting better stuff in the future. The key to the demon castle might just be the tip of the iceberg. Issei. This could end up being a one-time thing, but if not, then I'm gonna use this as long as I possibly can. The brown-haired boy held the key out as it started sparking with red electricity. He turned it, and in a matter of seconds, a fiery portal appeared in front of him. Issei started at the portal with an expression of seriousness. Determination was in his eyes, because this would be his first time in an S-rank dungeon. The monsters will be way stronger than the previous two, things will only get tougher the more he does. Yet, Issei isn't afraid. In fact, this was filling him with excitement because he can use this opportunity as a test to see how well he does against an S-rank monster. Issei. Well, no point just standing here. Without hesitating, Issei walked into the fiery portal and found himself in a completely new place, or was it? Issei took the few seconds he had to check his surroundings. Everyone looked exactly like the town of Kuo, except there were no humans in sight and everyone was on fire. This left the brown-haired boy puzzled. This was an S-rank dungeon, and yet it looked like his home. It made him wonder, was this because of the system? Was it trying to tell Issei something about this dungeon? He could feel the pressure all around him. Very powerful monsters lived in this hellish place, and they all were ready to tear Issei limb from limb. There was no way he could survive this. Then again. Issei. I still have that teleportation stone I obtained from that instance dungeon. If shit gets real, then I'll simply use it to get out of here. Issei narrowed his eyes. Issei. All I can do now in this situation is give it my all. Things were getting tougher. Issei needed to get more powerful. In order to do that, he needs to know exactly how strong he currently was. If he gives up just because he's scared, then he won't become any stronger. The brown-haired boy soon perked up as he heard a loud and vicious growl in front of him. Issei looked in that direction and looked up a little. When he did, he narrowed his eyes, because he was greeted by a sight he never thought he would see in a dungeon. Let alone an S-rank dungeon. The gatekeeper of hell, Cerberus. Cerberus. Out of all the monstrous creatures from Greek mythology, Cerberus stood out the most for numerous reasons. For starters, the beast was the pet of the Greek god, Hades. The watchdog of the underworld, the one who makes sure that no one even dares to try and escape from where they have been sent to suffer for all of eternity. Issei read that Cerberus does this by literally devouring them. He wasn't sure if it meant getting eaten by him, means getting erased from existence. Itself, he didn't really want to find out either. Another reason why Cerberus is so different than the other creatures in Greek was because of his appearance, a three-headed dog that stood taller than 10 fully grown men. The brown-haired boy really wasn't expecting to see Cerberus in the dungeon. A part of him didn't want to kill the three-headed beast because this could end up being bad for him. He was sure that Hades deeply cares about Cerberus. If Issei kills it, then the Greek god may end up wanting to make him and his mother suffer for the rest of their lives. Then again, this could also not be the real Cerberus. It could just be a fake that the system came up with as a challenge for Issei. Issei narrowed his eyes at the three-headed dog in front of him. Issei. If I give up just because I'm scared, I won't become stronger. I will become stronger. Cerberus growled at the brown-haired boy whose eyes were glowing. It then let out a thunderous roar before charging at Issei. Issei. Time to level up. Issei leaped into the air towards Cerberus, he made sure to stay clear of the beast's 3 heads. One bite from those 3 and even Issei will be done for, plus as the saying goes 3 heads are better than 1. The brown-haired boy held his dagger tightly as he delivered a powerful slash on Cerberus's arm, causing blood to erupt from the wound. He came to this S-rank dungeon to test himself, he wanted to see how well he does against such a powerful monster. Issei continued to attack Cerberus, unloaded slash after slash upon its hide. Idle. Wolf assassin buffs have been activated. This filled Issei with delight since Cerberus was a beast-type monster, this means that he's gonna be doing double the damage to him. Sure, it may not be enough to kill it, but it will sure do something to the monster. Issei used his speed to strike Cerberus, attacking the 3-headed dog from numerous sides such as the left, then the right, from below, and even above. Cerberus roared and growled as it tried to attack the brown-haired boy, but Issei was simply too fast for the devourer of souls to keep up with. As Issei landed on the ground, he soon remembered his bloodlust ability. He wonders if it will affect Cerberus, it might not, but it was still a good enough time to use it. If it did work, then it could leave Cerberus wide open for more attacks, just has to remember to stay far away from its 3 heads, or else he will pay the price. Issei's eyes started glowing as an aura covered his body. Skill. Bloodlust has been activated. Cerberus stared at the brown-haired boy as it was struck by Issei's bloodlust, it remained where it stood unmoved by what had just happened. Issei gritted his teeth as a screen appeared in front of him. The foe's resistance was too high, the effect was cancelled. Issei. Great, that didn't work, I wonder if. His eyes soon widen as he just realized something very terrible. If Cerberus has high resistance, then that means that his dagger's 2 effects will be pointless against it. He won't be able to paralyze it or make it bleed. From a growth standpoint, the 3-headed dog was basically the best opponent for Issei to challenge. It was the devourer of souls in the Greek myths, a truly terrifying monster that no one wishes to come across. However, it doesn't even look fazed by Issei's attack so far. Even with a buff from his wolf assassin title, he has basically done nothing at all. Issei gritted his teeth in annoyance. Issei. Fucking hell, I can't believe I'm still so much weaker. Cerberus growled at the brown-haired boy who glared back at the 3-headed dog, one of his eyes glowing. Suddenly, Cerberus's eyes started to glow crimson red as it unleashed a powerful roar that nearly knocked Issei off his feet. This surprised and worried Issei because this meant that Cerberus wasn't even taking him seriously. He guessed the 3-headed dog Issei was merely another soul trying to escape hell. The gatekeeper of hell, Cerberus has used skill. Rage. Cerberus will be in a state of rage for 3 minutes. All of Cerberus's stats will increase twofold. Issei. What? Cerberus charged toward Issei at blinding speed. The brown-haired boy managed to evade the attack by jumping into the air and stabbing his dagger into the middle head. Issei. You have to be fucking kidding me. What kind of skill is that? Talk about bullshit. While Issei was annoyed by this turn of events, he understood that the system was telling him the difference between his and Cerberus's strengths. Cerberus does not feel any pain. Issei's eye twitched. Issei. Are you shitting me? The devourer of souls threw Issei off his head and lunged toward him, its middle head then snapped its jaws upon Issei's left arm. Though the brown-haired boy didn't get a chance to scream as both he and Cerberus crashed into a house. Cerberus stood up as Issei laid on the rubble, missing his left arm. He cried in pain as his health was going down by a lot. Health. 1290 2600. Health. 726 2600s. Health. 411 2600s. Issei. Fuck. That hurts like hell. Issei may have lost a limb, but he wasn't losing any health from the blood that was pouring out. Looks like even in a dire situation, the system is trying its best to ensure that the player doesn't die. Because it can't have its only player isseihyoudou die. Issei gritted his teeth as he glared at Cerberus who loomed over the brown-haired boy. Issei can't help but feel like it was bragging about how weak he was. Fucking bastard. Just because it was a creature from Greek mythology, the pet of a god doesn't mean it gets the privilege to brag about its strength. Issei now knows what he needs to do, since the system was making sure he stays alive. He needs to become a stronger avatar, he needs to exceed its expectations. He needs to swallow the system whole. Cerberus lunged at the brown-haired boy once again, trying to devour him. However, Issei has had enough of the 3-headed dog and its bullshit. Issei. Status recovery. A bright light erupted from the ground as Issei glared at the pet of Hades. Thanks to the status recovery, his health was back at max, and his arm was now back in its proper place. He was also holding the maw of Cerberus's middle head open with his bare hands, something that a complete idiot would do. It was a terrible idea. But Issei is all about those. Issei. I'm sick of you. Using his strength, Issei twisted Cerberus's head and used it to leap into the air. The other 2 heads looked at the brown-haired boy as he used his dagger and slashed one of the head's eyes out, causing it immense pain. As Issei was in the air, he activated the Ring of Loki and created around 10 illusion clones. If this was his final stand, then he was gonna make sure that Cerberus stayed dead. Issei. Die. Issei and his clone stabbed their daggers into the remaining head of Cerberus, causing blood to erupt from its mouth. They pulled their dagger out, and just as they did with the giant arachnid in the C-rank dungeon, they repeatedly stabbed the devourer of souls over and over again. Before long, the pet of Hades fell upon the scorched ground, going limp from the air. At that moment, Issei also sent his illusions away as he panted heavily. Just then a screen appeared in front of him. You have defeated the gatekeeper of hell, Cerberus. His face was full of surprise. He can't believe it. He did it, he defeated Cerberus. He actually managed to kill the pet of the Greek god, Hades. He wasn't sure if this was a dream or not. Was he dead? No, he couldn't have been, since he used a status recovery just before Cerberus got to him. The brown-haired boy actually did it. He defeated his very first S-rank monster. Level up. Level up. Level up. Level up. Issei smiled. He has gone from level 21 or level 25, which was very good because that meant he was now 4 steps closer to his goal. The brown-haired boy looked at Cerberus's now deceased body. Issei. Because of you, I now know how strong I truly am. He turned his gaze to the demon castle, which stood only a few feet away from him. He narrowed his eyes at it. Issei. If I were to go in there, I would die. Issei looked back at the body and petted Cerberus's 3 heads. Issei, thank you, Cerberus. You have taught me so much. He turned to another screen that showed the items he obtained from killing Cerberus. They were very good items. Item. Warden's necklace. Level of difficulty. A. Type. Necklace. Agility plus 20, sense plus 20. Item. Key to the castle. Level of difficulty. A. Type. Key. Item Cerberus's fang. Level of difficulty. None. Type. Miscellaneous. Issei smiled. He could use the necklace to increase his agility and the key for when he desires to come back to this place. As for the fang, he wasn't sure what that will be used for. However, he gets the feeling he will find out soon enough. Issei. Inventory. The screen appeared next to the brown-haired boy. He then reached into it and brought out a teleportation stone. As he was about to use it, another screen appeared in front of him. The god of the underworld, Hades, is watching you. Issei's eyes widened in shock and fear. Killing Cerberus got Hades' attention. He was hoping it wouldn't happen because the brown-haired boy got the feeling that the god of the underworld wouldn't be very happy. Looks like his worries have just been increased tenfold. Issei. Well, shit. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.